Hello guys, this is your fanfic dojo and we are back with our new fanfic, which is What If Sakura Tried to Kill Naruto Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and please subscribe to the channel. It motivates me to upload more fanfic like these for you all. Now let's start the fanfic. Three figures sat in a darkened room one late summer evening, with a lamp being the only source of light. One appeared to be a young woman no older than perhaps 12. Her face could not be seen, but one could feel a hardened mindset around her. The other two, sitting directly across from her, appeared to be in their late 60s or older 70s. Not much could be seen of the elderly group's features, mostly due to the lack of light, but one could make out a pair of glasses and a bun hairstyle with an extended seban in the hair of what appeared to be the female of the pair. "You know what you must do, child?" asked what appeared to be the only male of the group of three. He sat in a chair facing the two other figures in the room, sounding like a general informing a private of his or her mission. The youngest member of the room stared back at the two elderly people in front of her. "Yes, I do. I must kill Naruto Uzumaki. He is a threat that must be eliminated. His presence will only endanger the village as a whole. It will be done, and in exchange, we will guarantee you a place as the wife of one of the most prestigious clans in Konohagakure no Sato when the time comes." The elderly woman smiled, which betrayed the rather sinister nature of her request. A smile came from the third member's pink lips. "Consider it done." With that, the youngest member left the room. "Have we done the right thing?" the elderly woman asked. "It is for the good of Konoha. There are simply too many risks involving the boy. If he survives, Konoha will become a major target for anyone looking for his power. This is for the best," the elderly man stated. Little did anyone realize that this plot against one young man would change the village forever. It was a typical sunny day in Konohagakure no Sato. Well, typical for most. For the recently graduated genin, it was test day. That's right. Apparently, there was a second test that none of the students were aware of. So, today, they were each at the mercy of their Jonin sensei. Currently, one team of genin was hiding inconspicuously amongst a cluster of trees that made up the barrier surrounding the third training ground. The first, and easily the tallest, of the three young hopefuls was a young man with a pale complexion. Not much could be seen of the young man, as he wore a pair of round, black sunglasses to cover his brown eyes and a sea-green coat with a high collar to obscure the rest of his features. Completing the youth's ensemble was a pair of brown shinobi slacks with a kunai pouch tied around his right leg, a pair of black shinobi sandals, and a hitai-8, or forehead protector, with a blue cloth tied around his bushy brown hair. His name was Shino Aburame. He was the heir to the Aburame clan, a clan specializing in the hidden techniques of using kikaichu, or destruction bugs. The only other male in the group was easily recognized as an Inuzuka. He had a bushel of messy brown hair, thin eyes with vertical canine-like slits, claw-like nails, and sharp canine teeth. The red triangular tattoos resting on his cheeks were a dead giveaway of his lineage. His uniform consisted of a set of grayish-brown pants, a gray parka-style coat with black fur, and a hitai-8 with a blue cloth. His name was Kiba. Perched on top of his head was a small white dog with brown ears named Akamaru. Kiba was the son of the Inuzuka matriarch, Sume Inuzuka, with a specialty in collaboration jutsu with his canine companion. Rounding out the three genin was a shy young girl with pale lavender eyes. Her hair was a midnight blue, with a pair of bangs framing her face. Her fair skin tone seemed to simply add to her appearance. Her uniform was a combination of a beige hoodie with the fiery symbol of the Hyuga clan on the upper right and left sleeves, a black undershirt with light chain mail reinforcement, blue shinobi sandals, and navy blue pants. Her hitai-8, like her comrades, was blue. However, unlike the rest, she wore hers around her neck. She was Hinata Hyuga, current heiress to the Hyuga clan. Like the rest of her clansmen, she possessed the Byakugan, the Dojutsu Kekkei Genkei the clan is infamous for. With it, she not only had a near 360 field of vision, she can also see the chakra pathways that would be invisible to anyone else. This enhanced sight allows the members of the Hyuga clan to utilize Juken, or the gentle fist, style of taijutsu. The style allows the user to hit tenketsu, or chakra points, throughout the body, and effectively prevents a person from using chakra and, in some cases, can cause organ failure and loss of mobility. Supervising the three genin was their jonin instructor, Kurenai Yuhi. Kurenai was a relatively new jonin, having only recently been promoted. Her uniform, unlike the vast majority of her colleagues, was made up of what appeared to be black and white strips of cloth, with wraps covering some of her body, including her arms. Kurenai wore a hitai with a black cloth. Her eyes were a piercing red with a black ring around the pupil. Even her long hair, a messy black, seemed to scream for attention. Despite this, she was a calm and collective individual. Her specialty was in genjutsu. The four-man cell was currently hiding as part of their test. As a tracking team, part of their abilities would stem from being able to gather information about a target without being spotted. Not every tracked target could simply be captured as soon as it was tracked down, after all. So, Kurenai gave Team 8 this test. Spy on a team and gather as much information about them as possible. The goal was to be able to gather the information without being caught, similar to how you would need to follow a target without it catching on and running away. It was her team's choice to try and gather reconnaissance on the team currently occupying Training Grounds 3. The team in question was in the middle of its own training session. The man that was obviously giving the test to the newly minted genin team was a man with white hair that seemed to defy the known laws of gravity. It seemed that the genin didn't recognize their teacher. But, to anyone else, they would recognize the unusual man as the copycat nin, Kakashi Hatake. Kakashi almost always wore his uniform, which was the standard issue of most jonin in the village, as well as metal-plated gloves and a mask that covers his face from the eye level down. His black hitai covered his left eye, sometimes earning him the nickname of Cyclops. Right now, he was in the middle of yet another test to genin hopefuls. The three in front of him, however, were not living up to the expectations that he hoped for in the beginning. First was the last of the Uchiha clan, Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke was somewhat dressed like a ninja, with black sandals, a blue shirt with a high collar and the Uchiha fan on the back, a blue hitai and tan shorts. In a way, Sasuke was becoming a greater disappointment than what most of the village would have thought. Granted, he showed a wide display of advanced tactics and an impressive display of jutsu. He even managed to get closer to actually getting a bell than his teammates, the key word being, he. Not once did Sasuke ever ask for his teammates' help. Kakashi had at least hoped that the Rookie of the Year would have the brains to figure out the point of the test. Apparently, his overinflated ego was getting the better of him. In a way, Sasuke reminded Kakashi of him when Kakashi was his age. Hopefully, Kakashi could work that out of Sasuke. That is, if he managed to actually pass the test. Then there was the dead last, Naruto Uzumaki. In almost every sense of the word, Naruto was the antithesis of being a ninja. His choice of shinobi apparel, which consisted of an orange jumpsuit with a white collar and blue patches on his shoulders, a pair of orange pants, blue sandals, and a blue hitai, was screaming for attention. He was loud, obnoxious, and charged straight into situations without much thought, if any at all. Not to mention, most of his drive seemed to be centered either on becoming Hokage, getting attention, or trying to win the affections of his pink-haired crush. However, Kakashi knew, at least in part, why Naruto acted the way he did. Being the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed fox meant that Naruto wasn't treated as fairly as many members of the village. He was shunned by the community, probably was devoid of most of an education in the beginning, and probably had to be the way he was just so that he didn't fall into the depression that almost complete social isolation could bring. Kakashi actually had high hopes for training Naruto, if his vastly large reserves and near unlimited shadow clone army were anything to go by. The kid was practically a blank slate. His skills were mediocre, and his form atrocious, but with any luck, Kakashi could very easily make Naruto into whatever he wanted. It didn't hurt that Naruto looked strikingly similar to his former sensei, the Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze. Then there was the pink-haired girl of the team, Sakura Haruno. She was an enigma to Kakashi. On the one hand, she seemed to be the typical fangirl, a woman who would do anything for her love, Sasuke Uchiha. She wasn't terribly strong, her chakra reserves were pitiful, and she wore attire, which consisted of a red dress, skin-tight green shorts, and a blue hitai that was not as functional as he would have hoped. She just seemed to be showing a demonstration of what she learned at the academy, instead of trying to improve upon it. On the other hand, she had a spark in her eye that unsettled Kakashi slightly. She seemed hardened on the task at hand part of the time, almost like a woman on a mission. He couldn't fathom what was going on. How could she have the mindset of a seasoned veteran one moment, and be a giddy fangirl who faints at the sight of her crush's head the next? Luckily, Kakashi didn't have to wait long for answers. The timer signaling the end of the test sounded, signifying that no one had passed since the bells were still attached to his waist. After recalling his team, he tied Naruto to one of the training posts and decided to put Sasuke in a chokehold. What a disappointment. The last of the Uchiha trying to do everything by himself, a Hokage wannabe running around like a chicken with his head cut off, and a fangirl that seems to be suffering from dissociative identity disorder that will only do what is best for the Uchiha. Well, I suppose it's time to see if I can salvage this team, thought Kakashi. All three of you disappoint me greatly. Not only did none of you pass the test, you didn't even attempt to get the real meaning of the test. What are you talking about, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto yelled from his place on the stump. Shut up, you baka! Screeched Sakura as she slammed her fist into the side of his head. Yeah, you're not making it any easier to listen to Kakashi-sensei. Her inner voice known as Inner Sakura seemed to agree. From his position, all Sasuke could manage was, Kakashi sighed. Simple. This wasn't about getting the bells. This was supposed to be about teamwork. Each of you was supposed to help the other get a bell, not run off to try and win things on your own. I get it, I think. So, we were supposed to work together to get a bell, even if it meant giving up your chance at passing, right? Naruto asked. Exactly, Naruto. Kakashi answered. Wait, how did you figure that out, Naruto no baka? Sakura asked, doubt practically dripping off of her words. Hey, just because I don't get stuff sometimes, Sakura-chan, doesn't mean I am as dumb as Kiba or something. In Team 8's a hiding place, Shino was trying his best to keep Kiba restrained. Let me at him. Let me at him. Kiba roared. Kiba-san, we cannot give away our position. Why, do you ask? Because we will fail if we do. Kiba-kun, please stay quiet. Hinata managed to stutter. Alright, but if that dumbass says one more thing about how dumb I am, test or not, I'm kicking his ass. Back with Team 7, Kakashi went into a further explanation of the bell test. The point of the exercise was to see if you would be willing to work together in order to achieve a goal and to see if you would place the needs of your comrades over your own interests. Kakashi then pulled out a kunai and tossed it to Sakura while he pulled another kunai out and held it at Sasuke's neck. For instance, Sakura, kill Naruto or Sasuke dies. Now, if circumstances were different, Sakura would have questioned Kakashi's orders. Killing a comrade was considered to be a capital offense in Konoha, and Kakashi was telling her to commit a capital offense. However, she had a mission to accomplish. Naruto was a threat that needed to be eliminated, and the reward for doing this was too great to pass up. So, with a speed no one was expecting, Sakura took the kunai, and stabbed Naruto, straight through the neck. The world seemed to freeze and the sounds of the outside world seemed to mute themselves. All eyes were on Sakura and what she just did, with the only exception being Naruto, who seemed to be losing focus of the outside world. Before losing consciousness, only one thought ran through his mind. Why? Sakura-chan, why? Kakashi was stunned stupid. He had failed many teams before, but this was the first time anyone actually took his order seriously. Most would have been too flabbergasted to even consider it an option, and yet Sakura had done so without batting an eyelash, like it was normal to be asked to kill a former classmate. He couldn't have even predicted that Sakura would have gone through something like that. True, he saw that she didn't like him, but to kill him. He didn't know quite what to think. Sasuke was astounded. If the situation didn't seem so messed up, he might have just fallen in love with the pink-haired kunoichi in training. He had to admit, seeing her simply follow through with orders like that was rather appealing. That being said, he wasn't sure even he would have killed a fellow comrade simply because he was ordered to. He may not have liked the Dobi, but even Sasuke didn't think he deserved that. Man, Dobi, did you pick the wrong girl to have a crush on? Kiba was at a loss. He may have acted like a jerk most of the time, but he was friends with Naruto. He remembered some of the pranks he pulled with Naruto, along with Shikamaru Nara and Choji Akamichi, on their former sensei, Iruka Umino. Kiba was also aware of Naruto's crush on Sakura. So, for him to see his friend's crush attack, the irony was just a little too much. He couldn't even come up with a wise crack to say. Shino seemed unperturbed, but the raising of his eyebrows in surprise spoke volumes. He was never that close to the blonde, mainly because his insects seemed to have attention around whenever Naruto was in close quarters. He didn't know why, but something about him didn't agree with his insects. That being said, he could not find the logic in what Sakura just did. She was not crazed, at least as far as he could tell, and Sakura was only truly violent if Naruto did something to Sasuke. But, that was usually followed up by a loud rant by the Pinkett. For her to simply attack Naruto without any remorse defied logic. Kurenai didn't know quite what to think. She had never seen a student so unconcerned about the safety of her teammate. She had read some of the profiles of the students beforehand, so she had an idea of what a graduating class looked like. But, she didn't hear anything about a ruthless killer in the class. She may not have been an elite ninja for very long, but even she thought it was strange that Sakura did this. She turned to see how her other student, whom she thought of as a younger sister, was handling things. Hinata was shocked, abhorred, and terrified. All she could see was the weapon going into the neck of the one person that inspired her the most. She was even starting to develop a crush on the young blonde. His will to never give up, his smile, the way he would stick up for the underdog and boast about becoming Hokage, everything about him inspired the blue-haired girl. Now, he was being stabbed by not only his own teammate, but by his crush. Hinata never was really close to any of the young women her age, primarily because of her own insecurities about her skills and looks, but she never was fond of Sakura. She was the only person who had what Hinata wanted. Hinata didn't know what Naruto saw in Sakura, but whatever it was, she wanted it, if for no other reason than to simply be able to walk at Naruto's side. Now, she may not be able to do that at all. As time seemed to speed back up, she noticed that Sakura had pulled the kunai out of Naruto and was making for another strike. Naruto-kun. That one scream seemed to snap the rest of Team 8 out of its stupefied state and into action. Throwing away all inclinations to remain hidden, they snapped into action, rushing across the field to try and help their comrade. Kiba and Kurenai rushed towards Sasuke and Kakashi, who seemed too stunned to do anything about what was going on, and restrained them. Shino and Hinata made a race to Sakura, who before being incapacitated by Shino delivered 3 more wounds to Naruto, one to the right side of his chest, one to the gut, and one to the left kidney. Hinata quickly went to untie Naruto and try to stop the bleeding. Unfortunately, her knowledge of first aid was limited, and she lacked the expertise to treat all of the wounds. Kurenai-sensei, he's still bleeding. We need to get him to a hospital. Hinata managed to stutter out in her panic state. Kiba, knock out Sasuke and carry him. Shino, you grab Sakura. I'll grab Naruto. We need to get him medical attention immediately. Kakashi, you better go and get the Hokage. He will need to know what is going on. Kakashi was gone in a poof of smoke, his only thoughts being that he hoped his blonde student would live to see another day. As the group ran towards the hospital, those that were still conscious all prayed to whatever god was watching over them that Naruto would live to see another day. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the Sandaime Hokage of Konoha, was not in a good mood. His day didn't start all that well to begin with. First, he got up this morning to a cold household. Apparently, that rather lazy son of his Asuma Sarutobi forgot to add some extra fuel to the fireplace the previous night before heading to bed. Next, he had to yet again try to reduce the size of the ever-growing pile of paperwork that seemed to be accumulating on his desk. Then he had to, once again, remind Danzo Shimura, head of the currently disbanded Root Division of Anbu, that Naruto was not a weapon and would not be turned into such. Then it was listening to the whining of the village civilian council on matters so trivial an academy student could solve the problem with little thought. The one bright spot so far had was that his grandson, Konohamaru Sarutobi, had barged into his office and asked him to allow him to sign the Sarutobi monkey summoning contract when he was of a proper age. All in all, it was not one of the aging Hokage's best days on record. So when Kakashi Hatake appeared in his office stating that Naruto Uzumaki, a young man that Hiruzen thought of like a grandson, was en route to the hospital with life-threatening injuries, Hiruzen knew that it was going to be a long day. He had a feeling that the staff may or may not put their best effort into his treatment, and justify themselves either by saying that the fox would heal any life-threatening injuries, or that there wasn't enough time to save him, or some other garbage the third really didn't feel like hearing today. It is times like these that make me wonder why I didn't do the sealing myself, thought the third Hokage morosely. It certainly would have made things a lot easier for Naruto. I'm getting too old for this crap. When the third fire shadow entered the slightly large hospital room, he was met with a rather unsettling sight. Sasuke Uchiha was leaning against the wall, rubbing the back of his neck in much the same way one would do so after someone hit him on the neck. Kiba Inuzuka was on the floor petting his canine partner Akamaru, watching and waiting for news about his comrade. Kurenai Yuhi was doing her best to try and comfort one Hinata Hyuga. Rounding out the group was Shino Aburame, who seemed to be standing guard over Sakura Haruno, who happened to be coming back into consciousness. Yes, this most certainly will not be my day. A medical ninja stood in front of the Hokage. Hokage-sama, I have some bad news. Heaving out what he knew was going to be the first of a long string of sighs for the day, the Hokage ordered the medic nin to report. Well, Naruto's injuries seem to have healed somewhat, but he lost a lot of blood, and... Yes, the Hokage impatiently asked. Well, there's no easy way of saying this. There is nothing physically wrong with him, but his vitals are continuing to drop. Simply put, he is dying. How can that be? If his injuries are healed, shouldn't he be waking up? Asked Kakashi. Ordinarily, that would be the case, the medic told the copycat nin. However, it seems that, for reasons non-medicine related, Naruto has lost the will to live. He, for whatever reason, is refusing to cling onto life. I am sorry. Everyone gave pause to that statement. Naruto was giving up on life. That was about as imaginable as him giving up on ramen. Naruto was the living embodiment of determination. He could become a limbless invalid with nothing but his sense of taste left in him, and he would still be ranting about becoming Hokage. He himself once boasted about it. The idea of someone like him giving up was just unfathomable. After hearing the medic Nin's report, Hinata separated herself from her sensei and was at Naruto's side crying. Trying to keep some form of composure, the Hokage turned to the medic Nin. "It is not your fault. Thank you for doing your best," the third told the medic Nin. The medic Nin bowed to his superior as he left. "Alright, who wants to tell me what the hell happened?" Sarutobi asked, but the tone definitely implied that it was an order, not a request. It was Kurenai that decided to speak up. "Hokage-sama, my team was in the middle of its Genin test when this occurred. They were spying on Kakashi's test in order to pass. Their goal was to gather information on another team without them knowing about it. I felt it was the best test for a team that was supposed to specialize in tracking and recon. At any rate, we observed the test given to Team 7. I won't bore you with the details." As he was going into explaining the goal of the test, Kakashi gave an order to Sakura Haruno, which I assume was supposed to be another test. After the order was given, she stabbed Naruto in the neck. While his sensei and other teammate were in a state of shock, my team mobilized to try and get to Naruto, but not before Sakura managed to land 3 more blows to the chest, gut, and kidney, respectively. Sufficient to say, the Hokage was beyond furious. This whole incident was riddled with armature mistakes, sheer stupidity, and betrayal the likes of which he hadn't seen since he disbanded Root. Noticing the crying Hyuga, the Hokage turned his full attention to the pink-haired member of Team 7. She looked like she was about to make a comment about Naruto's status, but wisely decided to shut her trap when she looked at Hiruzen's face. In a tone that could send chills up even the coldest of hearts, Hiruzen warned her, "I sincerely hope that Naruto lives through this, Haruno-san. For if he dies, so do you." For the first time in her rather short life, Sakura was hoping that Naruto managed to live through this, if for no other reason than to keep her off the chopping block. Naruto tried waking up. For some reason, he was in a lot of pain, particularly in his neck, chest, and abdominal areas. He didn't remember how he got here. Oh, that's right, he thought, Sakura-chan had stabbed him. That must have meant he was dead. He tried to recall what happened right before he blacked out. Then there was someone yelling. There was a couple of blurs that he couldn't focus on. A set of lavender eyes filled with tears, maybe. Then, there was nothing. Slowly, he opened his eyes. There was nothing but white all around him, as far as the eye could see in any direction. That was unusual. He imagined death being more, he didn't know, interesting. There were no people waiting in line, no pearly gates, no flames of hell, no scarier than Orochimaru doing Kabuki Shinigami about ready to devour his soul for all eternity, nothing. So, I'm dead, huh? Naruto stated. Well, I guess I was expecting something a little more special. Man, did I ever screw up. With all of the stuff that stupid Fox did, I was half expecting to end up in the darkest pits of hell just by being associated with it. But, I guess this is just Cammy's version of hell for me. Just me being alone, for all eternity, never knowing my family, never having good friends, never getting married, or being Hokage, or anything. Guess that kinda makes me special, huh? He chuckled with a rather macabre tone. Now, I think Kami-sama would be a little more creative in building a personal hell for someone supposedly so tainted by evil. Don't you think? Naruto turned around and was met face to face with what he could only describe as the most beautiful woman he had ever seen in his short life. She seemed to be of an average height, but had an aura of regality around her. Her long, flowing white robe was tied off with a golden sash, which modestly clung to her figure. A light silver trim and a design of what appeared to be a dove in light gold seemed to be the only ornamentation on the robe itself. Her ebony hair cascaded down reaching the small of her back. Her arms appeared to have a glove of sorts with two golden rings that fit over her middle fingers to stretch the fabric over her delicate hands. The staff she carried was a simple design, platinum in color, a circle placed on top with 6 rings total, 3 hanging off of one side of the staff and 3 on the other, hanging off of the frame, and another small bird statue perched on top of the circle. What caught Naruto's attention though were her eyes. No matter how hard he looked, he couldn't see much about the eyes. It was as if someone had replaced her eyes with a pair of spotlights. If she were in a darkened room, her eyes would probably act like flashlights. Everything about this woman screamed that she was someone to be respected. All Naruto could muster was a weak, Kami-sama. Not quite, young one. To Naruto, even her voice carried with it a tone of authority. I am nowhere near Kami-sama's level, but I am someone that works for Kami-sama. I am what you call a messenger. You can call me Chiyoko. Chiyoko-sama, I mean no disrespect, but where in the hell am I exactly? A confused Naruto inquired. The newly named Chiyoko stifled a small giggle. You are where all souls go when they are sent to us prematurely. I believe you humans refer to it as limbo. It is where all souls go when you are waiting to see if you are to pass over to the other side, or if you are to return to your world. So, I'm not dead. Not exactly, Naruto-kun. Right now, you are just hanging on to life, but you are losing the fight. It would seem that you are losing the will to go on, Chiyoko answered. Naruto stayed silent for a second, then responded. It makes sense, I guess. I really don't know why I still continue on most of the time. My life hasn't really worth living most of the time. Sure, it has nice to have people to talk to sometimes, but for the most part, I just want to know what it was like to no longer feel pain, to no longer feel so alone in my life, to not have my very existence acknowledged simply because of what I carried. Who knows, maybe I just want to go someplace where I might be loved, where I can escape the hateful glares and the hushed tones. Who knows, if I'm lucky, I could even see my parents again, whoever they were, even if they don't want to see me. Maybe, I just want to let it all go. So, are you saying that if there was a reason for you to stay, you would? Chiyoko asked. Or, let me ask you this. Would you continue to fight to live, to continue to carry your burden, to live with the hate and the strife, even if it was painful? For the sake of one person, if just one person cared whether or not you lived or died today, would you change your mind? Maybe. I don't honestly know. I mean, I can probably count all of the people that would truly miss me on my hand, Naruto stated as he held his hand up. Let's see, Iruka-sensei would be sad for a while, but he would probably find a new troublemaker to have ramen with. Tsuki Oji-san and Ayame Ne-chan would probably find a new favorite customer, Konohamaru would probably find a new rival for Hokage, and Oji-san has an entire village to care for. Other than them, I can't think of anyone. Perhaps you have been looking in the wrong direction, Before Naruto could ask what Chiyoko was doing, a small opening in the area appeared, acting as a window. There, before Naruto's eyes, was Hinata, crying over his still form, small tears flowing down her face like a river. He barely knew anything about her, other than she seemed like a shy, dark weirdo and that she stuttered and turned red, a lot. Why would she be crying over someone like him? As if to answer his question, Naruto heard Hinata's quiet voice through the portal. NN Naruto-kun, please don't give up. I don't know what I would do without you in my life. You have been such an inspiration for me, UNN never gave up on anything. You would always try your hardest on everything you did. You are the strongest person I can know. Without you, everything seems so hopeless. You are a great person, Naruto. So, please don't give up. Please, F for me. Naruto was beside himself. She thought that highly of him. Him, Naruto Uzumaki, the dead last, the village pariah, the demon brat, was her inspiration. How could that be? He just had to tell Hinata that he would be alright. He didn't understand why fully, but it hurt to see Hinata cry over him like that. But, before he could call Hinata out and tell her that he was going to be alright, the portal closed. Well, I suppose we should get going. Wait, what are you talking about? I can't just leave her. Naruto exclaimed. What? I thought you said that no one else cared. Don't you want your pain to end? Don't you want to go somewhere where you could be loved? Don't you want to see your parents? Chiyoko asked. Not if it means breaking Hinata-chan's heart like that. I don't care if I have to fight you for the right, I am not gonna just abandon Hinata-chan like that just for my own selfish reasons. Besides, maybe if I am lucky, when it is my time to go, I can see my family again. Chiyoko smiled. I wonder if he realized that he just called her Hinata-chan. Oh, well, time to break the news to him. Well then, you pass. What? Naruto yelled. You mean this whole thing was a test? Man, I am so sick and tired of tests already. Well, that was the point, Naruto, Chiyoko stated, which had the effect of clamming Naruto up. You see, we don't just give free passes to the land of the living. One must earn the right. You earned yours when you were willing to put the needs of someone else before your own. That was your test. To see if you would still fight, and continue on with the life that Kami-sama has given you, even for the sake of one person. The fact that you still wanted to fight, even when you were reminded that you were going to give up, showed that you had earned the right to continue. Now that you have passed, I shall return you to the living realm. Before she could do so, however, Naruto stopped her. First, Chiyoko-sama, I want to thank you for showing me the errors of my ways. Arigato. You are welcome, Naruto-kun. Second, can I ask what would have happened had I still wanted to go on even if it meant hurting Hinata-chan? Had you decided to continue? Simple. Your soul would have committed the sin of pride and greed by being selfish and thinking of your own life instead of the lives of others, and you would have been sent straight to hell. Chiyoko said nonchalantly. Naruto gulped. Okay, then. Before you send me back, I have two other questions. She smiled. Ask away. First, do my parents love me? I figure you guys would know, since you probably have seen them. I know I have no right to ask right now who they were, not after the way I have acted, but it would be nice to know if I was loved, Naruto stated, a tear streaking down his whiskered cheek. Yes, your parents love you very much. Kami-sama saw how happy they were when you were born, it is a shame you don't know who they are. For that, you have my sympathies. Thank you. I have one last question. You said that they love me, like they are alive. Does that mean they are still around? Not exactly, Naruto-kun. I cannot go into details, but your father is with the Shinigami right now. As for your mother, she is not among the souls we have seen, and since all souls are recorded by either the Shinigami or Kami-sama, that can only mean that she is still alive somewhere. Perhaps, when you return, you should find the time to see if you can find her. Now, go. I think you have kept a certain someone waiting for a little too long. Arigato again, Chiyoko-sama. Naruto said as he slowly drifted back to his own world. For all that it is worth, Naruto, I hope you are able to turn your life around for the better, Chiyoko stated as she slowly made her way back to heaven. Hinata was continuing to sob over Naruto's body. The idea of Naruto no longer being a part of her life terrified the heiress. He was her beacon in an otherwise cruel world. She wasn't entirely sure if she could manage in a world without Naruto. Just as it seemed that all hope was lost, a shaky hand rose and cupped Hinata's tear-stained cheek. Hinata let out a small gasp, which seemed to snap everyone else in the room to attention. The hand holding her face was calloused, but felt warm, like the gentle rays of the sun beating down on her. She turned to see if it was one of her teammates, but she noticed that the angle was wrong. Her eyes slowly drifted down to the arm that was connected to the hand, and saw that it was indeed Naruto's. Deep, piercing, half-lidded cobalt orbs met pale lavender globes. A shaky voice escaped his lips in a tone just barely loud enough for the room's occupants to hear. Hin, ta. Not trusting her voice and not quite believing what she was seeing, all Hinata could do was slowly nod her head. She then saw the famous, foxy grin of his creep across his face, and knew without a shadow of a doubt, that this was indeed Naruto, and he was very much alive. Naruto-kun. In a very uncharacteristic manner, Hinata glomped Naruto, hugging him and crying into his hospital gown as if he was her lifeline. Everyone, Sasuke included, let out a collected breath that no one was aware they were holding. Well, I suppose we can thank Kami for that, thought Kakashi. That was too close, was all Sakura could manage. Well, at least the baka wasn't wimpy enough to actually die at the Banshee's hands, thought Kiba. His recovery defies logic. I think there may be more to Naruto than what is on the surface, thought Shino. Thanked Kami-sama. I thought for sure that we would have to put Hinata on suicide watch for a while there, thought Kurenai. Well, looks like the Dobi's luck saved him, thought Sasuke. Looks like your son is certainly full of surprises, Minato. Thought Hiruzen. After 15 minutes of allowing Hinata to get her composure, and to attempt to stay conscious after realizing what she just did, she gave Naruto a glass of water, which he happily accepted. Hiruzen then turned to Naruto. You gave us quite a scare, Naruto-kun. I'm sorry, Gigi. That's all right. If you don't mind, why don't you and the rest of the members of Team 8 stay here while I have a talk with the rest of your team? Okay, Naruto stated hesitantly. Hiruzen smiled, and then turned to face the other occupants in the room with the hardened face of a leader. Kakashi Hatake, Kurenai Yuhi, Sasuke Uchiha, and Sakura Haruno, please follow me. That is an order. With that, the four aforementioned ninja left the room. Sasuke turned to face Naruto before he left. Hey, Dobi. Yeah, Tem, what is it? Naruto asked. Congratulations, you just proved you're slightly stronger than a fangirl. Sasuke smirked, before heading out of the room. The frustrated yell of, Tem, was heard all around Konoha that day. Hiruzen looked at the three shinobi in front of him. He was having Kurenai wait in the hallway outside of his office before he went to talk with her, seeing as how he had different matters to discuss with her. He carefully observed the mindset of everyone in the room. Sasuke seemed to be trying to settle on either being frustrated that he was here, curious as to what was going on, and worried that he was going to be punished for what his team did. Kakashi was acting as professional as possible, although his eyes were similar to those of someone who knew they were about to get grilled by their boss. Sakura didn't even look the Hokage in the eye and seemed to be trying to hold back tears. He wanted to confront Team 7 before he would do anything else on the matter at hand. He listened to Kakashi's report of the test, which made Hiruzen wonder what was going on in Kakashi's mind to make him think that anything concerning the test would have ended well. With a heavy sigh, knowing that this would not be a pleasant affair, the Hokage began his evaluation. I would like to start by saying that I am disappointed in all three of you. Your actions, or lack thereof, nearly cost one young man his life today. Kakashi. Hiruzen turned his full attention to the masked Jonin, who slightly flinched under the scrutinizing glare of his superior officer. I am extremely displeased with the way you handled yourself in this situation. You are a seasoned ninja, for crying out loud. You have handled assassination missions. You were one of our top veteran shinobi during the Third Great Shinobi World War. You have seen more of the horrors of this world than most people nearly twice your age. Yet, despite all of your training and experience, the attack of one 12-year-old genin against her restrained teammate managed to shock you to such an extent that you were unable to assist your charge. Even if you were initially shocked, you should have at least been able to prevent Naruto from being stabbed an additional 3 times. Kakashi made a feeble attempt at defending himself. But Hokage-sama, how was I supposed to know that she was going to attack Naruto? I didn't think that she would have taken my orders seriously, it was a test after all. Then you seriously misread the situation, Kakashi-san. The Hokage pointed out. As a Jonin, you should not have given that kind of an order to a newly minted genin with no field experience. Sakura would not have known if you were giving her a serious order or testing her. Being able to look underneath the underneath is not something someone of her level could have done to the extent that you tried to test her with. The third Hokage frowned when he saw the look on the young Uchiha's face. I would wipe that smirk off your face, Sasuke-kun. You may have the least responsibility of everyone here, but you still are not completely in the clear, either. That is absurd. What did I do? I wasn't the one that stabbed the Dobi. I wasn't the one that gave an order that was supposed to be a test. Besides, why am I even here? It's not like I could have done anything. I was restrained, Sasuke pointed out. True as that may be, Sasuke, you are not without fault here. As the so-called Rookie of the Year, you should have figured out the meaning of the test you were given. Instead, you decided to do things on your own, and risk the well-being of your teammates to meet your own goals. The fact that you froze up when Naruto was stabbed could be expected, but not even struggling to get free of your sensei when you saw the attack continue shows me that you were either not concerned with his well-being, or that you were unable to get over the shock of what happened. In our line of work, those kinds of mentalities will either get you or your allies killed very quickly. In the world of the shinobi, you cannot afford to delay helping your team when they are under attack. Sasuke bowed his head in humiliation. The Hokage had a point. He had been using his teammates as fodder while he tried to pass the test by himself. Even if he did have a goal to reach, he still should have helped his team, if for no other reason than to make sure they didn't hold him back. Not to mention, he and Kakashi were closer to Naruto when Sakura attacked and they should have been able to help him. It was a bit humiliating to realize that another team, who apparently was on the other side of the field, was able to get to Naruto faster than his own teammates. The aging Hokage then turned his full attention to the pink-haired girl in front of him. And you, where do I even begin? Attacking a fellow shinobi with the intent to kill. Stabbing him, not once, not twice, but 4 times. Risking charges of murder for doing so. What in the name of Kami were you thinking? He saw that she was about to cry, but he was not in the mood. Dry your tears, Haruno-san, they will not help you here. Sakura took about 30 seconds to get her composure before answering the Hokage. Hokage-sama, I was told Naruto was a threat to the village and that he would bring people here that would want to harm the village because he was a demon. I was told that, if I killed him, I would be seen as a hero by everyone, and I would be on the list of wives for Sasuke-kun when the time comes to restore his Sea clan, she finished. Needless to say, everyone in the room was shocked. Kakashi was wide-eyed at the idea that someone like Sakura would fall for such an obvious ploy. Sasuke was perturbed that someone wanted to marry him off to someone he thought of as weak just to restore his clan, but was more disturbed by the fact that someone wanted his classmate dead. Not to mention, someone thought that the ramen-eating dead last of his class was a demon. What was that about? Hiruzen was horrified. If any of what Sakura said was true, then there were bigger things going on than he realized. If this had merely been her following orders, he could simply strip Kakashi of his rank and force him to retire. If she simply wanted Naruto dead, he could have her executed. But, what she claimed happened was true, then not only did someone break his decree concerning Naruto, but someone wanted him dead. He had to find out for sure what was going on. Sakura-chan, who told you that Naruto was a threat? The Hokage inquired, making sure to read her expression for signs of deceit. It was counselors Mitokado and Udatane, Hokage-sama. Sakura answered. Hiruzen was floored. His former teammates wanted Naruto dead. True, they were never his biggest supporters, but why have him killed? Why now, after all of the time that has passed? Homura-kun, Kaharu-chan, why are the two of you trying to eliminate Naruto-kun? Hiruzen decided to get to the bottom of things, but first he had to deal with Team 7. Now, that complicates things a bit. But, I will delve into that later. For right now, we need to deal with the matter at hand, you three. Right now, you should consider yourselves very lucky that Naruto survived this, or I would be having you, he pointed to Sakura while saying this, immediately executed for murder. I would have you, he pointed at Kakashi this time, stripped of your rank and have that eye of yours removed, and I would have you, he finally pointed at Sasuke, reporting back to the academy for remedial training, since it is clear that there are still some things that you need to learn about being a shinobi. All three had the good sense to look ashamed at the moment. Hiruzen sighed for the umpteenth time today. As it stands, however, I cannot afford to lose any potential ninja right now. Our forces are still nowhere near what they were before the Kyuubi attack, and right now we need all the hands we can get. In addition, since Naruto is alive, the most that anyone can be charged with right now is aggravated assault with the intent to kill a fellow ninja of the leaf. This does not mean any of you are getting off easily. However, as all three of you are considered ninja under my jurisdiction now, Sarutobi stated with no hesitancy in his voice. Sasuke Uchiha, since you share the least responsibility out of the three assembled here, your punishment will be the lightest. You will have funds extracted from the Uchiha clan's personal accounts to pay for Naruto's medical expenses. I also would like to give you a fair warning. This test you were a part of nearly resulted in the death of your comrade because of your choices. In a real-world scenario, this could have left you alone or possibly gotten you killed. Let this be a lesson about the importance of your comrades and of the importance of working with others. Sasuke bowed his head in recognition. He knew that the punishment he received was light in comparison to what he could have received, so he was not about to ruin it by running his big mouth. Kakashi Hatake, Hiruzen began, but then noticed that Kakashi was about to take off his headband in resignation. Oh, no, you are not getting off that easily. As I said, I cannot afford to lose Shinobi right now. Kakashi sighed, but froze at the next statement. That being said, I am seriously questioning your skills as a leader. You made serious mistakes that had life-threatening consequences. You gave orders fit only for shinobi of a higher caliber, not newly graduated children. You misread a situation and made mistakes only amateurs would have made, not seasoned veterans. As it stands, your competency is in serious question, Hatake-san. What are you saying, Hokage-sama? Kakashi asked, though he was a little nervous as to what the Hokage was planning. I was getting to that. Since your leadership abilities are in question, and I will not be risking the safety and well-being of another person on such an unstable team, I will be reorganizing Team 7 into a 3-man squad. This will be until such time as you are deemed competent enough to handle a 4th member and your team is deemed stable enough to handle a 3rd teammate. Kakashi was visibly unnerved. This was a greater dishonor than when his father committed suicide when he was younger. His leadership abilities, and by extension his rank as Jonin, was being called into question. Surprisingly enough, Kakashi accepted this. He knew he screwed up, big time, and that if Naruto had died, chances were he would be in even worse shape than he was now. He could handle this. He already had a growing list of failures, but he would work to make this one right. As for you, Ms. Haruno, Hiruzen declared, you are fortunate that I cannot execute you for assault. That being said, your confession disturbs me, as you are implicating my former teammates in a conspiracy to kill your classmate. It is also applied by what you said that some serious laws have been bypassed for this to occur. For that, I cannot fully fault you. But, I need to make it clear that what you did was against the law, even if you were persuaded to do so. Therefore, I am going to have Anbu take you to the interrogation and torture unit headquarters for questioning by our top interrogator Ibiki Morino, as well as a mind dive by one of our top interrogators. If what you said has any merit, then you will be released back into the custody of your sensei. You will then be accompanied by a pair of Anbu of my choosing to monitor your activities within the village for the next year. If, after that time has passed, it is decided that you are no longer a threat to others, your team will have a third member join. However, I will inform the two who will be tailing you that they are to execute you on site if it is shown that you are about to pull a stunt like this again, so I would advise you to be on your best behavior. If, and this is crucial, you are found to be lying to me, you will immediately be executed for treason and attempted murder. Am I clear, Haruno? Sakura could only nod her head in recognition. Her punishments terrified her. This wasn't supposed to be like this. She was supposed to kill Naruto, have the elders overlook it as a misguided order by her sensei, have Sasuke-kun's mind wiped clean so that he didn't remember anything, and then live happily ever after as his wife. She realized just how much trouble she was in. This could have jeopardized her career and almost forfeited her life. She felt ashamed that she was so easily blinded, but also knew that she had a lot to be thankful of. She had a long road ahead of her, and any mistake she could make could get her killed. But, if it meant that she could be trusted again, she would do it. Not to mention, she would probably never be looked at the same way again. I would advise you all to consider what I have said here. I am being rather lenient considering the circumstances, but things could be worse for all of you. Consider carefully what has happened here and learn from it. Hopefully, in time, Naruto can learn to trust the three of you again. For your sakes, I hope he does. You are all dismissed. Anbu, please escort Sakura to TNIHQ, please. The third ordered. With that, two Anbu, one in a turtle mask and the other in a bull mask, shunshined into the office and took Sakura. Kakashi and Sasuke bowed in respect and left the office. Hiruzen rubbed his temples to try and numb the ensuing migraine he was getting. Well, at least that is one problem out of the way. Now, it is time to move on to other business. He then asked his secretary over the intercom to send Kurenai in. Kurenai was a little nervous. She had seen Kakashi and Sasuke walk out of the Hokage's office without their pink-haired teammate, and each was supporting a look of acceptance on their faces. It was not very comforting to the Genjutsu expert. So, it came as no surprise that she was apprehensive about meeting with the Hokage directly after Team 7. Hopefully, he is in a better mood now than he was earlier, thought Kurenai. She bowed in respect before taking a seat, which was offered to her by the Hokage. I don't mean to be rude, Hokage-sama, but why am I here? Straight to the point, I see, stated Hiruzen with a smile, before setting his face in a serious mask. First, can you please reiterate why your team was spying on Team 7? I just need some clarification. Of course, Hokage-sama. As I stated, my team's test was to spy on another team and gather recon without getting caught. As a tracking team, it would be an invaluable skill to be able to gather info on a target before capture so as to ensure success. I let my team pick which team they wanted to spy on. They chose Team 7 after hearing rumors about how many teams Kakashi has failed. They wanted to know how someone could fail so many teams. So, we hid at the training grounds they were using, and started to gather intel about the team in question. I believe we all know how that ended up. There was a long pause after the explanation, which did nothing for the red-eyed woman's nerves. After a few tense minutes of waiting and watching the Hokage analyze her words, Kurenai decided to speak up. Hokage-sama, is my team in trouble? Did we do something wrong? She may have only been a Jonin for about a year now, but even she didn't know if something was wrong. Seeing the worried look on her face, Hiruzen yet again let out a sigh. I apologize, Kurenai. This has not been a very good day for me and frankly, dealing with Team 7 has tried my patience. I apologize. There's nothing to apologize for, Kurenai. You and your team were well within your rights to do what you did. It is a little unorthodox to spy on another team, since they are usually considered private practices. But, you do have a point in that your team would need to show skills at gathering intelligence in order to be successful trackers. Besides, if you and your team had not been there, there is a chance Naruto would have died. For that, I thank you. Hiruzen watched as she let out a breath he was sure she didn't know she was holding. In fact, Naruto is the reason I wished to talk to you. At her questioning glance, he continued. As you may be able to guess, I removed Naruto from Team 7's roster. I cannot in good conscience leave Naruto on a team where his life would be at risk. As Hokage, it is my responsibility to ensure that he would have a chance to become a skillful shinobi in a relatively safe environment. Therefore, I removed him in the hopes that he will be able to be put on a team that will be able to grow without fear of assassinations or attacks by his own teammates. He waited to see what Kurenai's reaction would be. Fortunately, he didn't have to wait long. That's all fine and good, Hokage-sama, but what does this have to do with me and my team? Sharp as ever, I see. Well, since Naruto has been pulled off of Team 7's roster, I need him placed somewhere. He cannot be a freelance ninja at his rank, and by law he can only be put under the tutelage of a full Jonin ranked ninja. There would certainly be choices I could make of some, but most of the candidates that I feel could take him on as a student either are not of the correct rank or have other responsibilities. I fear that giving him his own Jonin sensei would cause havoc on the council, probably arguing favoritism towards him. The only other person qualified to take him on as a student by himself currently is running a spy network that is too important to the village for him to give up. That leaves the senseis that have already passed this year's Genin. Maida Guy would be a good choice for him, but I fear that there is little Guy would be able to teach Naruto, since his taijutsu style pretty much requires an early start, and he doesn't have any jutsu that Naruto could learn without access to the 8 celestial gates. My son Asuma could take him, but he is already training the next Inoshika Cho trio, and adding Naruto to the mix would just be adding a fifth wheel to an already balanced team. There is nothing he could offer the trio that isn't balanced out or compensated elsewhere. Therefore, I want you to become the leader of Konoha's first ever 5-man squad. Kurenai was stunned. To lead a 5-man squad was a huge responsibility. The Hokage was basically implying that he trusted her enough to handle 4 genin on her own. Her, a newly appointed Jonin with little experience as a sensei to begin with, was being trusted with this. She was honored, to say the least. But, a nagging question plagued the back of her mind. But what could Naruto offer my team, or better yet, what could we offer him? We aren't exactly combat specialists, he doesn't exactly have any tracking skills, and I can't exactly teach him any ninjutsu, since my specialty is in genjutsu. I thought about that, Kurenai, Hiruzen stated. He wasn't called the professor for nothing, after all, and he had anticipated that question beforehand. What Naruto can offer your team is muscle. As it stands now, Kiba is really the only heavy hitter on your team. His reliance on his senses in battle could hinder him in the long run. If you were forced into a combat situation and Kiba were to be indisposed due to a loss of his hearing or sense of smell, your team could be in trouble, since neither Hinata nor Shino are combatant types. Naruto, on the other hand, with his mass of shadow clones, which he could use for tracking and recon as well as training, could become a one-man army that could give you enough time to escape or be able to formulate a plan. He could give your team a much-needed fighter that would otherwise need to be compensated through other means. Kurenai couldn't argue with the logic. The point about Kiba had merit. When she asked for the team, she had not built it with combat in mind. She could see how being forced to fight could lead to a disaster on her part. Plus, Sarutobi did point out that shadow clones were first used for infiltration, so they could be used as a form of intel gathering. No matter how she looked at it, everyone benefited. I accept this responsibility, Hokage-sama. I will not disappoint you. I know that you won't, Yuhi-san. Now, I believe you need to meet with your team at the hospital to let them know what is going on, don't you agree? She replied with a smile. I suppose I should. Then go. You are dismissed. She then bowed and left. Hiruzen then turned to the left wall and gazed upon the picture of his successor, Minato Namikaze. I hope I am beginning to amend for the mistakes I have made, Minato-kun. With any luck, this experience will make Naruto a better ninja, and hopefully a better person. As the meetings were going on at the Hokage's office, Team 8 and Naruto were engaged in some light-hearted conversation about various topics of little importance. It was then that Shino decided to ask the question that had been bothering him since Naruto returned from the brink of death. Naruto-san, I have a question for you. I have noticed that my Kikaichu seem to react rather peculiarly when around you, to be more specific, around your chakra. Is there a reason for that? I know it may not be our place to know, but that combined with your healing rate indicate an outside source. Naruto stiffened. That was the one question he didn't want to answer. Ever since he found out about the fox, his biggest fear was of how people would react to living with him. On the one hand, he could cover it up with a lie. But, for one reason or another, he didn't really want to lie to them. Plus, someone would eventually find out anyway, either by looking at his chakra, or some other way. Not to mention, having a near-death experience made him realize how important it was to find true friends. As an added bonus, these people saved his life. Naruto realized pretty soon after he woke up that the blurs in the eyes that he had seen belonged to the three people standing in front of his bed. Naruto didn't have many people that would put their lives on the line to save his life. No one had done that before, except for Iruka. No one had ever cared before if he lived or died, so why did they? He knew that there was something different about the three of them. It was then that he decided that these people were truly his friends. As his friends, he realized, they had a right to know about him. They had a right to know his darkest secret. Even if they hated him afterwards, he had a gut feeling that told him to entrust his secret to the insect user, dog ninja, and quiet young woman. So, with a heavy heart, Naruto began his explanation. Do you guys remember what we were told about the Kyuubi no Yoko? Yeah, but what does that have to do with anything? Kiba asked, but was nudged by Shino to stay quiet and pay attention. Well, we were not told the whole truth. At their questioning glances, Naruto continued. I mean, think about it. The Kyuubi was powerful enough to level mountains and create tsunamis with the flick of its tail, and yet one man was able to take it down when an entire army couldn't land a scratch. It doesn't make sense. The trio stared wide-eyed. What Naruto said made perfect sense. How could the fourth Hokage kill something that powerful? That's when they realized that no one had ever told them how the fox was killed. Before their thoughts could run wild, Naruto went on with his explanation. The truth is, the fourth Hokage, for as powerful as he was, could not kill the fox. It was too powerful. So, he had to do the next best thing. He had to seal the fox into something. An animal or container would not have been strong enough, and an adult would have died when his system couldn't take the strain. So, he took a newborn infant and used a forbidden technique to seal the Kyuubi into the baby. Naruto, you tell this as if you know this personally. How is it that you know all of this? Shino asked. Rather than vocalize his answer, Naruto got out of his hospital bed, rather slowly by his standards since he was still sore from his attack. He lifted his gown to reveal his stomach. He built up enough chakra to make the seal visible. I know, because I was the child used in the sealing. I am the container of the nine-tailed fox. Naruto then lowered his face, so as not to see the looks on Team 8's face. He waited for the rejection, the hatred, the fear that he knew such news would bring. The room was silent for a few minutes while Shino, Kiba, and Hinata assimilated the information. It was a bit of a shock to believe that someone like Naruto, who always had a smile on his face and seemed to be an idiot and a dead last, was the container of the most powerful monster to ever attack the Hidden Leaf Village. Kiba was astounded that Naruto could be sane, holding back something like that. Hinata was in tears, thinking about the burden that Naruto had to go through. She remembered how he was treated when she saw him around town when she was younger, and now things were starting to make sense to her. However, it was Shino that made the first move. He walked over to Naruto and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. Naruto, I perhaps more so than most, can somehow relate to what you are going through. How, do you ask? Because I too know what it is like to be isolated from my peers for something that was placed inside of me without my consent. My insects tend to drive people away from wanting to get to know me better. If anyone can even begin to understand what you are going through, I believe I can come close. Naruto snapped his head back up at a speed that most would think wouldn't be humanly possible. He looked towards Shino, surprised that he wasn't running away from the demon brat. Kiba was the next to speak. Man, dude, how you aren't some psychotic murdering bastard with something like that, I will never know. Dude, I can't even imagine what you had to go through. Damn. It was Hinata's words that brought Naruto on the verge of tears. And Naruto-kun, if anything, this makes you all the more admirable. To be forced with such a bu burden, and to see continue to smile, just shows how strong a person you are. With that, she walked over and gave Naruto a hug. I can't imagine it was easy to see confide in us with why your secret. We are sorry we pressured you, Naruto-kun, but we are thankful you trust us enough to share your burden. After her heartfelt speech, Kiba and Shino decided to join in. Even Akamaru jumped up on Naruto's lap after he sat back down on the bed and gave Naruto a slobbering kiss. For Naruto, it was unlike anything that he thought it would be. He never expected acceptance when he told his greatest secret. For him, the acceptance of these three people was the beginning of a new path for him. Now, he knew that even if the rest of the village never acknowledged his existence, he knew he would always have friends in this trio of oddballs. After Kurenai had her meeting with the Hokage, she went straight to the hospital. When she reached the room Naruto was staying in, she was met with a heart-warming sight. Her team was surrounding the blonde knucklehead's hospital bed, in what seemed to be a group hug. Naruto seemed to be clinging on to Hinata for dear life. Kiba was at one side of the bed, Shino had his hand on Naruto's shoulder, and Akamaru was on his lap. It was times like this that made Kurenai wish she had a camera. Well, time to deliver the news. Hopefully, they will understand. Something I should know about, team. The teens noticed Kurenai standing in the doorway, and each reacted like they had been caught in the middle of something embarrassing. Well, except for Shino, who simply shrugged his shoulders. Kiba backed away quickly, apparently to salvage his manliness. Hinata simply blushed crimson and stood off to Naruto's side. Giving a knowing smile, Kurenai decided to start off casually and hope for the best, since she wasn't really sure how well her team, or for that matter Naruto, would handle the news. So, Naruto, how are you feeling? I'm fine, Kurenai-san. So, are you here to take Kiba, Shino, and Hinata to practice or something? Naruto asked, sounding disappointed. Actually, I am here to talk to all four of you. At the four genins' confused expression, Kurenai decided to explain. Naruto, I had a discussion with the Hokage about your place as a genin. Wait, I'm not gonna be a ninja. But, I worked hard. I beat Mizuki Tem, it's not my fault that I failed the second test. I was attacked. Naruto, calm down, Kurenai said to get Naruto's attention, and let me explain. After she was sure that he would quiet down, she continued. You are still a genin. The Hokage felt that, despite what occurred today, all of you including your teammates will be given your ranks. We're in desperate need of shinobi right now, since our forces are lower than what we feel comfortable with. Therefore, you are still going to be a genin, even though you technically didn't take the second test. Oh, that makes sense. Naruto yelled. But, wait, does that mean? Kurenai rubbed her temples slightly. At least the rest of my team is allowing me to say what I need to say. That will have to be one of the first things I teach him, patience. I am getting to that, Naruto. Please try to wait until I am done. Looking sheepish, Naruto closed his mouth, but one could tell he was having trouble staying quiet. As I was saying, all four of you are genin. Congratulations, Kurenai stated as she watched the four genin smirk, hoop, holler, and otherwise express their happiness about becoming official ninja. She coughed to get their attention back to her. That being said, there was a bit of a problem with the team placements, which is what your team and I was talking about with the Hokage. So, Kakashi-sensei didn't want me to be his student anymore because I couldn't defend myself or something like that, huh? Naruto asked rather dejectedly. Shino, Kiba and Hinata looked at Naruto sympathetically. It hadn't been a great day for him, so it was understandable that he didn't feel happy about not being under the guidance of the copycat ninja. Not exactly, Naruto, Kurenai responded. At this, all four genin looked confused. Well, time to break the news. You see, the Hokage doesn't want you on a team that could get you killed if he can avoid it. Between Sakura's attack, Kakashi's incompetence, and Sasuke's attitude, he felt that keeping you on that team would do more harm than good. That is why he came to the decision that he did. As of right now, Team 7 will be a three-man team, with you removed from its roster. Naruto was stunned. He wasn't going to be on Sakura's team. Granted, he didn't have a crush on her anymore, but it was still a little sudden. It wasn't Kakashi's fault or the Tem's fault that Sakura attacked him. Heck, he didn't even want to blame Sakura. Sure, she didn't like Naruto all that well, but she didn't hate him, did she? Naruto didn't know what to think anymore. While Naruto was contemplating whether or not Team 7 was truly as bad as the Hokage thought, the members of Team 8 were curious as to why they were here, since everything that was said so far had to deal with Naruto. It was Kiba who decided to ask the questions that were on their mind. So, where does this leave Naruto, Kurenai-sensei? I mean, yeah, I agree that he shouldn't be on a team that is going to kill him, but what does that have to do with us? I'm glad you asked, Kiba. You see, the Hokage has asked me to take on a little more responsibility. He was impressed not only by how our team handled itself, but apparently on my leadership skills as well. To put it simply, he wants me to lead Konoha's first ever 5-man squad. Sensei, does that mean? Shino began to ask. Yes, it does. Naruto, by decision of the third Hokage, you will become the 5th member of Team 8 under my tutelage. Kurenai explained. I hope you will be happy being a part of this team. Each 12-year-old had a different reaction. Naruto didn't know quite what to feel. First, Team 8 helped him out. Now, he was going to be a part of their team. While he was still bummed about not being a part of Team 7, he wouldn't question his Gigi's wisdom. Besides, he was at least on good terms with everyone present. Well, except for Shino, who he never really talked to and so he couldn't say much. Shino raised his eyebrows in surprise. He wasn't aware that someone could have a 5-man squad. He saw the logic in doing so, but it still was unusual for the Hokage to make a permanent squad that was above the usual 4-man limit. Kiba smirked. He had been friends with Naruto in school and to be able to work with him sounded like it would be entertaining. Well, at least there won't be a dull moment, he thought. Hinata was on a bit of an overload. The idea of Naruto and her on the same team had been something she had dreamed of, but she never thought it would ever become a reality. So, true to who Hinata was, after hearing Kurenai's statement, she blushed up a storm, fainted and fell backwards, right into Naruto's lap. Naruto began to panic slightly. Hinata, are you okay? Say something. Kurenai-sensei, is Hinata gonna be alright? Naruto asked. Shino and Kiba's sweat dropped, completely flabbergasted at his ineptitude. They were aware that Hinata was fond of Naruto, but it seemed he was either too dense or too socially inept to figure it out. Kurenai chuckled a bit at her surrogate little sister's antics, then grabbed a set of smelling salts from her pack and used them to wake Hinata up. Welcome back, Hinata, Kurenai said as Hinata woke up. She realized what just happened. Hinata quickly jumped off of Naruto's bed and began blushing again. Gomen, Naruto-kun. I don't know what came over me. She silently berated herself. Stupid Hinata. Fainting on Naruto-kun like that, now he probably thinks you're a freak. It's okay, Hinata. It was an accident, Naruto explained as he gave his signature smile. Hinata felt lightheaded. Naruto didn't seem upset or embarrassed. He understood her, which she was relieved of. She smiled and simply bowed. Kurenai smiled. It felt good to know that Naruto was getting along so well with his new teammates. That made what she had to do next all the more dreadful. She knew that if Naruto was going to be a working member of the team, she had to have Naruto expose his darkest secret. Now that the news is out of the way, Naruto, I think it is time to tell your teammates about your secret. He already told us about the Kyuubi, Kurenai-sensei. Kurenai was absolutely stunned. She looked towards Naruto for confirmation, to which he simply nodded his head. She wasn't quite expecting Naruto to tell them, and she was worried about his reasons. Naruto, care to explain why you told these three about the Kyuubi? I can't really, Kurenai-sensei, Naruto explained. Shino asked me about my chakra, and I couldn't think of a lie that could explain things that someone like Hinata here would be able to figure out for themselves. Plus, for some reason, I feel I can trust these guys. I mean, you all did save my life, so I can at least be honest with you, right? Everyone smiled at this. It was a simplistic explanation, but it spoke volumes. It was then that Kiba realized something. Hey, that reminds me, Naruto, if you have held that gigantic bastard for so long, how come no one else has told anyone about it? I mean, I am guessing more than just the Hokage and our senseis know about this, Kiba asked with a quizzical look on his face. Akamaru barked in agreement. If I may, Naruto, Kurenai asked. Naruto nodded his head, deciding that she would be able to tell his new teammates better than he could. You see, Kiba-san, there was a law put in place by the third Hokage when Naruto was born. You see, he felt that people would treat people worse, or possibly kill him, if word spread that Naruto was the container of the Kyuubi no Yoko. So, he enacted a law that stated that no one was to talk about the fate of the fox. It was punishable by death. He hoped that it would allow Naruto-san here to grow up normally. Obviously, the best laid plans of mice and men went awry. So, Naruto was supposed to grow up like an normal person. That is exactly right, Hinata. That is why no one your age knows about the fox. Now, we need you to understand. What Naruto and I just explained is considered an S-rank secret. Unless someone else knows about it, you cannot tell anyone, understand? Doing so is punishable by death. She didn't want to scare Kiba, Shino, and Hinata, but she needed to make it clear that it was a secret. It seemed that they all accepted what was going on. Now, If there is nothing else, it is about 6 p.m., and I believe we should let Naruto-san get some sleep. With that, Hinata, Kiba, and Shino left the room. I talked with the nurses, Naruto. You should be able to be released by tomorrow afternoon. We will come back then to pick you up. She then turned to make her way out the door, but not before turning around. Oh, and Naruto-san. Yeah, Kurenai-sensei. I'm glad you trust us enough with your secrets. I hope we will continue to earn that trust. Rest assured, I will do my best as your sensei to make you into a fine shinobi. Get some sleep. Yes, sensei, Naruto responded, before going to sleep, dreaming of better days. Outside of the hospital, Hinata turned away from her teammates to head home for the evening. This left Kiba and Shino by themselves to think about what they just learned. Since neither was needed at home that night until later, they decided to get something to eat as team members. They both decided to eat at Yakiniku Q, a Korean barbecue restaurant in town that was quite popular. It just so happened that, when they arrived, Shikamaru Nara and Choji Akamichi were sitting down to eat. Choji was a rotund young man of the Akamichi clan. His clan specialized in the hidden techniques that involved being able to expand one's body to great sizes. He had red swirl marks on his cheeks, brown hair, and beady brown eyes. His Hitai-8 was worn in a way that gave him 2 tufts of hair on the side of his head. He wore gray shorts, a white scarf, a green jacket, and a gray shirt with his clan's symbol on it. He also wore a pair of earrings, which everyone on his team wore now to show they were members of Team 10. Shikamaru was from the Nara clan, a clan that specialized in shadow techniques. He had black hair tied in a pineapple-style hairdo, brown eyes, and wore earrings similar to Choji's. His attire consisted of a fishnet shirt with a short jacket, a Hitai-8 on his forearm, and gray pants. Seeing their fellow comrades about to sit down, Kiba and Shino decided to join them for dinner. They exchanged pleasant conversation, including mentioning that Ino, Team 10's female teammate, had gone home early to work at her shop due to her dad being called to Anbu interrogation for unknown reasons. Things were pretty typical up until they decided to talk about the day's tests. Yeah, Choji and I had an easy test with Ino and Asuma-sensei. All we had to do is tie him up. I got him with my shadow possession jutsu, Choji rolled over him with his human boulder, and Ino took him over with her mind transfer jutsu. It would have been too troublesome to do anything too elaborate. Shikamaru explained with the enthusiasm of a cage dealing with paperwork. Yeah, it was okay, the big-boned genin said. So, how was your guys' test? Shino and Kiba gave each other side glances and nodded before getting serious looks on their faces. Oh, it was fine, up until Naruto was stabbed 4 times by Sakura, Kiba answered sarcastically, with a hint of venom. Shikamaru and Choji sat there gaping. Neither quite knew what to make of the accusation. They looked to Shino, who nodded in confirmation. Okay, I'll bite, how do you know all of this? Shikamaru asked, now that his full attention was on the 2 members of Team 8. Kiba then went into the day's events, starting with Team 8's test right until they left Naruto in the hospital. He, of course, left out the part about the Kyuubi after remembering the third's law. To say that the males of Team 10 were surprised was an understatement. Both were considered friends of Naruto's in school. They knew he could be annoying sometimes, but the idea of another classmate trying to kill him was almost unbelievable. For Shikamaru, it didn't make much sense. Sure, Sakura always made it known that she didn't like the blonde, but attempted murder. He was sure even Ino wouldn't stoop so low as to attempt to kill another person like that. As for Choji, he didn't know quite what to think. He never really liked Sakura. She was pushy, loud, and one of Sasuke's biggest fans. True, Ino was too, but she was at least semi-partial to Shikamaru and him due to their families being so close. It seemed Sakura couldn't stand anything having to do with the whiskered youth. Well, I can't say I'm not surprised. I know Sakura hates Naruto's guts, but why would she try to kill him? Shikamaru asked. Honestly, we don't know. What more can be said about it? Without knowing all of the details, all we can do is attempt to move on. Whatever her reasons are, she isn't about to tell us, Shino answered. Well, I think we should visit him tomorrow. What do you think, Shikamaru? Choji asked. I suppose it wouldn't be so troublesome. We can ask Asuma-sensei tomorrow, the Nara answered. Well, it's getting late. I suppose we should be heading home. Come on, Choji. Alright, later guys, Kiba yelled as he and Shino left the restaurant. The two boys had some questions that needed answers, and hopefully, they could get some ideas. Hey, Shika, how do you think Ino will take the news of what happened with Sakura? Choji asked. I'm not entirely sure, Choji, Shikamaru stated. They are rivals, but I'm not sure how she would react to Sakura being under arrest. Hopefully, once she finds out, she won't make things too troublesome. Shikamaru thought as he and his chubby friend made their way back to their respective homes. Hiruzen sat behind his desk with a critical look at the three individuals in front of him. It was about 7 p.m., and right now he was trying to end his day, hopefully, on a high note. Before him were the heads of the three largest clans in Konoha. Shibi Aburame, a man who looked like every other Aburame male except for the gourd on his back that held more of his Kikaichu insects. Hiyashi Hyuga, the regal leader of the Hyuga clan who wore the emotionless mask that most associate with the clan. And Sume Inuzuka, the only matriarch in Konoha who also happened to be clan head, with the same feral appearance of the rest of her clansmen, but the dress of a seasoned Tokubetsu Jonin. Of all the meetings he had today, this was the one that Hiruzen was the most apprehensive about. He knew that each family worked together well enough, but he wanted to make sure none of them would have problems with Naruto on Team 8. I suppose you are curious as to why you are all here, right? That would be a correct assumption, Hokage-sama. Shibi seemed to remain monotone, but his posture seemed to show curiosity. Well, it is concerning your children. As long as she doesn't embarrass the clan, and she does not drag her teammates in the muck with her, I have no problems with her being paired with an Inuzuka and Aburame, Hiyashi stated coldly. I am glad to hear that, Hiyashi-san, but that is not what I am referring to, Hiruzen said as he eyed Hiyashi. Wait. Don't tell me that they didn't pass. If Kiba didn't pass his test, Sume began to say before being silenced by the Hokage. Actually, they all passed. However, due to circumstances with another team, all three of your children will have a fourth teammate, making their team the first 5-man squad. At their quizzical look, he continued. Because of a fear of personal safety on his part, I am forced to place Naruto Uzumaki with Team 8. He sat silently as he watched the three. Shibi didn't seem bothered by Naruto, Sume seemed slightly surprised, but otherwise accepting, and Hiyashi looked at the Hokage with a look of indifference. I take your silence as the three of you saying that you are alright with this. As I stated, as long as my daughter does not do anything to embarrass the clan, I could care less. I already abandoned her training. Besides, my clan is not so petty that we would blame Naruto for the fox. One cannot hide much from the Byakugan, and it is plain to see that he has two different types of chakra within him, Hiyashi explained. We mostly distance ourselves to avoid being associated with a pariah. Sume was next to begin speaking after Hiyashi. Hey, I may have had my misgivings about the pup, but as long as he remains loyal to the village, he is under your command, so I won't question your wisdom on the matter. I have no issues with this, Hokage-sama, Shibi stated last. Thank you. I simply wished to make sure you were aware of what was going on. Now, unless you have concerns about Naruto or your children's well-being, you are dismissed, Hiruzen ordered. The sound of 3. Hi, was heard next. Hiruzen sighed in his seat. He was worried that someone would raise a stink, but apparently he underestimated the accepting nature of the clans, or at least the general indifference they seemed to show. With that last meeting done, he stood, stretched, and locked his office for the night. It was time for a good night's sleep for the Hokage, or at the very least, a good cup of soothing tea. Sasuke sat at the edge of what he deemed his dock. He always went here when he wanted to be by himself. As he sat there looking at the sunset, he thought about what the Hokage had told him in his office. He knew that the Hokage was always a bit partial to the blonde, but he made a valid point. He was so focused on passing the test and getting stronger in order to beat his brother, Itachi, who had slaughtered his entire clan, he missed the entire point of the test. He hadn't even assisted his teammate, who was only 2 or 3 feet in front of him. Had he truly been so wrapped up in trying to show off and beat Kakashi that he ignored his teammates? True, they were annoying and not very strong, but still. Then there was Sakura. She said that she had attempted to kill Naruto to get closer to her dream. She may have been a fangirl, but she took things a little far. Was she really that crazed on wanting to achieve her own goals that she would kill her own teammate just to get what she wanted? Hell, would Sasuke do the same thing? He wasn't sure. On the one hand, he desperately needed power, the power to kill his brother. On the other hand, did Sasuke really want to go as far as his teammate, or for that matter, his brother, just to get what he wanted? Would he really kill a comrade to justify his revenge? He didn't like his answer. He realized that, before all of this, his answer would have been yes. He would even sell his soul if it meant that he could have the power to kill Itachi. Now, he realized that, if he did, he wouldn't be any different than Sakura or Itachi. He would be throwing everything away and not be able to achieve anything else if he followed their route. Not to mention, he would never be able to achieve his other goal if he went off to kill his brother. Sasuke knew that his brother told him that, if he wanted to kill Itachi, he would have to hate him. He knew that, but he also knew that his brother outclassed him in every way. Hell, Sasuke hadn't even activated his Sharingan yet, and still his brother had a more evolved form of it, the Mangekyo Sharingan. However, in order to activate that level, he had to kill his best friend. Did Sasuke really want to have power that had that kind of price? He realized that, no, he didn't. He didn't want to end up like his brother if he could avoid it. He would find power another way. He would never use his brother's way to get power. He would not end up being like Sakura, killing a comrade just for the sake of fulfilling a dream. He looked down and saw his reflection, which for a brief moment looked like Itachi. He frowned before tossing in a rock to ripple the reflection. I will never resort to your methods, Oni-san, Sasuke thought. I will become stronger another way. I will never resort to killing my fellow ninja just for power. I promise now on my name as an Uchiha. Shibi Aburame walked into his clan compound to find his son waiting for him. He knew he informed Shino that he would be late, so he knew that there was something on his son's mind. Hello, Shino. Otu-san, may we please talk somewhere more private? I have a few questions for you. Short and to the point, just like his mother was before she passed, Shibi thought. Very well, step into my office. With that, the two Aburame made it to the office and sat down. Shibi sat in his chair, while Shino ended up sitting in a chair directly opposite to his father. Otu-san, I am sure that you are aware of the circumstances concerning my team. How do I know, you ask? I was there when the Hokage left with Team 7 and Kurenai-sensei. Yes, I am aware of the circumstances you are referring to, at least partially. I was not told why Uzumaki-san was removed from Team 7, only that he would be safer with your team. He was attacked by another of his teammates, Otu-san. Again, I was witness to this myself. Unfortunately, This is not what I wished to discuss. What may I wish to speak of? I wish to talk to you about Naruto and the nine-tailed fox. This caught Shibi off guard slightly, but figured that if his son was intelligent enough to figure it out, or if he was informed by Naruto himself, that it mattered little. I assume that Naruto told you, and that you are aware of the laws surrounding him. With Shino nodding his head in recognition, Shibi then asked about what Shino wanted to know. Otu-san, I know that most clans tend to place distance from him, but I am curious as to our reasons for doing so. Naruto, perhaps more than most, understands what it is like to have something inside of him that is placed inside of him. How could we not be more supportive of him? Shibi sighed, knowing that Shino would not give up until he had an answer. So, he asked Shino to keep silent until he was done with his long-winded explanation so that he could gather his thoughts. Shino, I believe you are partially misinformed. We have always tried to support Naruto. At one point, I even tried to adopt him. He could have been your brother. Unfortunately, there were two things stopping me. One, the demonic chakra that flows through him would not have been compatible with our insects. We would have lost many of our colonies if we attempted to adopt him. Secondly, the High Council felt that allowing him to be adopted by a major clan would have given that clan too much power. Nevertheless, we have done our best to try and support him in whatever way we can. Were you aware that the account that Naruto had to rely on when he received his apartment was funded by us? Probably not. Thankfully, we have only ever had one Aburame that was ever against Naruto. Do you remember your relative Torun? Shino nodded. Yes. He was the member with the nano-sized insects, correct? Correct. At any rate, he used to be a Jonin of our clan, and he even made his way into Anbu. That was up until 7 years ago. One day, he was on patrol and came across Naruto Uzumaki in the village. He used his insects to try and harm Naruto. He was caught before he could do serious harm, but the attack left a scar on Uzumaki-san's left shoulder. Soon after the attack, our clan formulated a formal apology, and then we banished Torun. That is the only time anyone of our clan had ever been against Uzumaki-san. Shino was shocked. His own relative had attacked a comrade of his, before he was even in the academy. It was something that Shino felt ashamed of, but he realized that either Naruto wasn't aware of his clan's involvement, or was trying to be kind. Thank you, Otu-san. I was worried that our clan may have been against Naruto. It is alright, Shino. If it is any consolation, I did want to have you get close to him as a friend, but I figured you took after me when it comes to social situations. Sorry for not allowing you to spend more time trying to become his friend. It is alright. If there is nothing else, I think I will retire for the evening. Good night, Otu-san. With that, Shino left his dad's office to try to sleep, though he doubted that he would be able with all that he had learned that day. Kiba walked through the threshold of his family's compound and asked his sister, Hana, about the whereabouts of his mother. He had a few things he needed to ask her, and he wasn't in the mood to wait. After Hana told him that she was in her room, Kiba sent Akamaru to his room to sleep while he had a talk with his Okawa-san. He walked to her room and knocked, shuddering at the memory of what happened to him last time he forgot to knock. Let's just say, he saw way more of his mother than he ever wanted to see. Sume answered the door, with Kuromaru, her canine companion with an eye patch and a missing ear, at her side. Something you need, pup. Okawa-san, I need to talk to you, in private, Kiba said. Sume got the hint and told Kuromaru that he could retire for the evening. Yes, Sume-chan, the large dog said before he left. Sume then motioned for Kiba to come in and sit on the bed in the room. Okay, Kiba, what do you need? Kiba was silent before he began. Okawa-san, I know about the fox inside Naruto. Sume gasped. Someone had screwed up big time if Kiba knew. Who told you? Naruto himself did, Kiba said in an irritated tone. Look, I don't really care about him having that thing inside of him, but I do have some questions. I know you usually stopped us from hanging out with each other when I was younger. I want to know if it had to do with the fox. I want to know if you were any different from everyone else that ignored him. Kiba was borderline yelling towards the end. Sume heaved a heavy sigh, both in relief that someone hadn't broken Hiruzen's law yet, but also out of frustration of having to explain her actions to her own son. Kiba, you wouldn't understand. That is complete BS. Try me, unless you want me to think you have something to hide. Kiba practically challenged his mother. Look, Kiba, it's nothing like that. Look, I had complete faith in the seal that the fourth used to seal the fox inside of him. What had me worried was just how much influence the fox had on Naruto. Try to understand, Kiba. The fourth Hokage was a seal expert, but the rest of us have absolutely just how much exactly the fox influenced him. We were told that Naruto would have access to its chakra, but we were not told if the fox could take control. Sume then shed a few silent tears. Kiba, did you know that the Kyuubi no Yoko killed your father? Kiba nodded his head. He had been told at a young age that his father had died to try and stall for time while the fourth Hokage came up with the seal. Well, that is what had me nervous. I know he is not the fox, but I didn't want to risk that the damn demon would possess the Gaki and kill you. I already lost one member of my family to that monster. I didn't want to risk losing you too. She then started to shed a few more tears. Oka-san, Kiba said forlornly. Look, I'm sorry that I kept him away from you, Kiba, but I was scared. It wasn't until I was told that he was gonna be a genin that I began to stop worrying. After all, if he will be trusted to be able to be a ninja, he is okay in my book. That said, I do not regret my actions at the time, Kiba. My fears were very real to me, and I care too much about you to let you slip away from me too. Look, Kiba started. I get you were right about that, Oka-san. But, if you knew he was not the fox and still treated him like that, then perhaps you had less faith in your cage than you thought. I hope you truly mean what you say, because he is not only a teammate, he is also a friend. With that, Kiba hugged a crying Sume and went off to bed. Hinata was sitting in the middle of a meeting with Hiashi and another member of the Hyuga Council. She knew that this meeting would be about Naruto. She didn't know what her father felt about it, but hopefully he would pass it off as another indifferent circumstance. She knew that she couldn't ask about anything, since she was there mostly for her own information, not to talk. Hiashi-sama, do you really think it wise to allow your daughter to be associated with that Uzumaki brat? I mean, he is a pariah. The elder exclaimed, not to mention the Now san, I do not think it will sully our name to be associated with him any more than having a weak heir. Hiashi cut him off before he broke the law. The last thing he needed right now was to try and figure out a cover story for Hinata. Not to mention having to execute an elder for breaking the law. However, his eldest daughter surprised him by speaking out of turn. Father, I am already aware of the KQB inside of Naruto-kun. This surprised Hiashi a bit, but decided to see just how much his eldest knew. How do you know, Hinata? Naruto-kun told our team today. And you are fine with this? Yes, father, Hinata tried to explain. I know he is not the Fox Inc. incarnate, since he has two types of CHCH chakra. And you are both alright with this? Now asked. As long as he doesn't embarrass us, I could care less. As you wish, Hiashi-sama, now said as he bowed and left. After he left, Hinata tried to control her breathing so she could talk with less of a stutter around her father. Father, I have a feeling that everyone in the clan knows about Naruto-kun. If the entire clan knows the difference between Naruto's prisoner and him, why do we not want anything to do with him? In all honesty, Hinata. Hiyashi explained. It is because he is an outcast. He would sully our name with his brashness and his way of life. He is simply not up to our clan's standards. Hinata supposed that made some sense, but she didn't like it. Still, it was her father, so she knew that he would do what was best for the clan. So, rather than try to pry more information, she simply thanked him and went to bed. As she left, Hiyashi smiled slightly. Beforehand, Hinata would never have been as bold as she was by talking out of turn or attempting to ask about how the clan operates. Hiyashi still was not keen on being associated with the boy, but if he helped his daughter, he could take a little embarrassment here and there. Perhaps this could be good for her. Only time will tell, Hiyashi thought. Inoichi Yamanaka was not in a pleasant mood. He just finished diving into the mind of one Sakura Haruno and was now sitting with his friend and fellow interrogator, Ibiki Morino. Well, that was enlightening. What would that be, Inoichi-san? Ibiki asked. Well, it seems that the Haruno girl was telling the truth, Inoichi began to state. Whether they were truly the honorable elders or someone under a transformation, I can't tell. The fact is, someone could have changed into them, and she would never have known. Plus, they were in a dark room, so a visual confirmation is near impossible. With no paper trail, no other collaborating witnesses, and no other evidence to connect either Kaharu or Homura to this, it means that we have little in proof concerning the deal, the meeting, everything. That is just perfect. We got those two going after one lone genin and virtually no way to prove it. The Hokage isn't going to like this, said Ibiki. No, he won't. Here's the curious thing, though, she seemed to have a strong disliking for Naruto, but she never wanted him dead. Somehow, she wanted him gone, but not dead. However, regardless, all we have right now is her memories and word, which is not enough to get the counselors arrested. True, but it does have us keep our eyes out for someone. What about the girl? Inoichi set himself in a thoughtful pose before answering. All things considered, she isn't really a threat to anyone other than Naruto right now. She is sorry for what she did, and it seems she was manipulated into doing what she did. All I can say with any absolute certainty is that she is not fully responsible for her actions. Still, she is a threat to Naruto, so for now, we will have to go with the Hokage's ruling. Well, Ibiki said, I suppose we should just keep her here for tonight and simply wait until tomorrow to report to the Hokage. Why don't you head home, Inoichi? Celebrate your daughter's promotion and we can report tomorrow morning. Thanks, Ibiki. I will. Have a good evening, Inoichi said as he left to go home, hoping that tomorrow would be a better day. The Hokage sat at his desk at 7 a.m. the next morning. Directly across from him were his top interrogators, Inoichi Yamanaka and Ibiki Morino. Inoichi was a 38-year-old jonin of the village who was originally known for being a part of the famous formation Inoshika-cho. He was dressed mostly in the standard attire of his rank, but with a red jacket over his vest, armguards on each arm, and a pale lavender hitai on his forehead. His hair was pulled into a long blonde ponytail that reached to his lower back. Sitting directly opposite was Ibiki Morino. Ibiki was a man of great psychological strength in the village. Being the top interrogator for Anbu had earned him the rank of Tokubetsu Jonin. His body was a mass of scars, which he covered with a bandana bearing the metal plate usually used on a typical hitai and a black trench coat, completed with a pair of black combat boots. So, what is the verdict on Haruno-san? The old man asked. Well, we interrogated her and found that she was indeed telling the truth, Hokage-sama, Ibiki reported. However, without anything other than her testimony, I doubt that we will be able to get any sort of conviction based solely on the testimony of one genin, especially one that attacked her comrade. Unfortunately, Hokage-sama, I must agree with Ibiki-san on this one. Without some form of collaborating evidence against either Homura-sama or Kaharu-sama, all we have is Sakura's word, Inoichi added. Truth be told, he had mixed feelings about what Sakura did, not because of who Naruto was, but because Sakura used to be his daughter's closest confidant. He remembered telling Ino about it after he came home, of course leaving out the specifics of the case other than to say that she brutally attacked her teammate. Needless to say, Ino was in a state of shock. She may not have been friends anymore with the Pinkett, due to their rivalry for the affections of a certain Uchiha, but it is not every day you hear of a former classmate being interrogated by Anbu. With that said, Hokage-sama, what are your orders? Hiruzen was deep in thought. This whole fiasco was a steaming pile of crap. He had little to no evidence to convict his former teammates of any wrongdoing. His only reliable witness to their involvement was a no-name civilian-raised genin who would have been up on charges of murder had Naruto died, and too many holes to fill. He wanted badly to see some justice for the young Uzumaki, but without solid proof of some sort of conspiracy, he could only do so much. Plus, with reports coming in of trouble involving his former student Orochimaru of the Sannin, and the lost sightings of several S-ranked criminals, Hiruzen couldn't afford to divide his attention even more on a case that would probably not see the light of day anytime soon. With a heavy heart, Hiruzen gave his orders. Without a solid case against them, we cannot do much. I am sorry to say that we will have to put this on the back burner until we have more evidence against them. Sakura has been dealt with, and if they are involved, they will know that and hopefully lay low for a while. For now, however, we will have to keep this hush-hush. If they think we are pressing a case, they may destroy evidence or try to concoct a story to cover their trail. I want someone to keep an eye open, but unless something becomes obvious, we downplay this as a freak incident. Am I clear? Hi, was heard from both Ibiki and Inoichi. They didn't like it, but the Hokage had a point. So, it was agreed that they would downplay the incident for now, but keep the case open if more information became available. Kakashi was walking down the early morning streets of Konoha, en route to the training grounds. The events of the previous day had him wanting to meet with his team, or in today's case Sasuke, on time rather than have them wait for hours to let him visit the memorial stone remembering his fallen comrades and sensei. Sakura was still technically in Anbu custody, but Kakashi found out from some of his former colleagues in Anbu that Sakura was slated to be released sometime between that afternoon and the next day. This was good in that it could mean finally getting started on team building exercises, which Kakashi felt that he urgently needed to start, but it was also bad in that it would mean having to put forth more effort to try and correct the errors of his team at a quicker pace. Kakashi had a long night the previous night. He had met up with Asuma Sarutobi and Maeda Guy, two other Jonin who had genin teams this year. They had noticed the previous night that Kakashi was not acting like himself and had pried into what had happened. Kakashi then went on to explain what had happened to his team. Both Asuma and Guy were shocked, both at Sakura's actions and Kakashi's oversight. They were a bit tempted to say, "I told you so," but felt that things were bad enough as is. After having a long discussion about the subject, they both decided to chalk up the whole mess to a combination of crazed genin mentalities and poor judgment. Feeling that he had heard enough, Kakashi then had left to go and try and sleep that night, which led to this morning. Kakashi sighed. Things were going to get bad enough for him now that the news of his no-wait, the former Team 7's incident, would start to go through all the ranks. This was going to be a long few years. Let's hope I survive long enough to make it that far. Anyways, the last Hatake thought to himself. Naruto looked at the clock on the opposite side of his bed. The device read 9:30. According to the staff, he was going to be able to be released at 12 o'clock that afternoon. Time seemed to be so slow for him. So far, he had visits from a hysteric Iruka Yumino, who was relieved that Naruto was okay, and a distraught Konohamaru Sarutobi who thought his newest rival for the seat of Hokage had died. Rest assured, Naruto had been patient with both of them and had explained that he was fine. He didn't quite want to tell them the details of what happened, mostly because he thought they already knew, but also because he had enough people breathing down his neck. He was drawn out of his thoughts with another knock at his door. The door's open, you know. Naruto yelled. When the door opened, Team 10 stepped in. Shikamaru and Choji entered first, followed by their sensei and their blonde teammate. Asuma Sarutobi looked like a younger version of the third Hokage. He had jet black hair, a black beard, and brown eyes. His uniform was typical of the standard ninja attire, including a blue Hitai, but also included a pair of bracelets on his wrists and a sash from his time as a member of the 12 Guardian Ninjas, a group of shinobi that dedicated their lives to the protection of the Fire Daimyo. Ordinarily, he would be seen smoking a cigarette, but seeing as how he was in a hospital and didn't want the staff to be complaining, he was smokeless. Ino Yamanaka was the female member of Team 10. Her long cornflower blonde hair, with a bang covering one side of her face, was accented by her sky blue eyes. She wore a purple dress as a uniform, as well as bandages covering most of her body, particularly around her waist and legs. She wore what appeared to be some sort of cloth arm guards and wore her blue Hitai around her waist like a belt. The 4 members of Team 10 all came in and surrounded Naruto's bed. So, Naruto, how are you feeling? Choji asked. You know, all things considered. Well, it could be worse, I suppose, Naruto answered. I could have actually died. Seriously, you'd think I had just fought against an S-rank criminal and lost or something. So, what brings you guys here? As troublesome as it is, we wanted to make sure you were still alive, numbskull. So, are you holding up okay? Shikamaru asked his blonde friend. Yeah, it must kinda suck to have your crush, well, you know, Ino said, trying to be the least bit sensitive for once. Yeah, I'll be okay. The whole, I'm gonna kill you, thing though makes me not want to date her, though, Datbeo, Naruto chuckled. The other occupants in the room seemed to loosen up slightly. It seemed that the incident hadn't affected Naruto's sense of humor, so that was at least a good sign. Team 10 visited Naruto for about an hour, before Asuma ushered his team out. Shikamaru simply shook his hand. Choji left a bag of chips for him, and Asuma simply told him that, if Naruto ever needed help with something, that he could search him out and see if Asuma could help him. As they were leaving, Ino surprised everyone by walking over and giving Naruto a brief hug. You know, I'm still a little mad about you taking Sasuke-kun's first kiss, Naruto. But, for all that it's worth, I'm glad you're okay. Thanks, Ino, Naruto said with a surprised look on his face. Usually, most girls avoided him, so to receive a hug from 2 girls in the span of 24 hours, well, let's just say that Naruto was having one of those moments where you wonder if you woke up in the right dimension or not. After they left, Naruto was starting to get bored waiting for his new team. He figured that the old man was probably keeping Team 7 away for his safety. Naruto didn't really feel threatened by them, but he supposed that it was understandable. He figured that the old man was probably worried that someone would come in and try to attempt what Sakura had pulled. Naruto tried not to give too much thought to what had happened the day before. He had spent most of last night trying to figure out what had happened to him. He came to 3 conclusions. 1. He didn't really think Kakashi did anything wrong. He gave an order that was supposed to be followed. How were they supposed to know that it was also a test? 2. As much as he hated Sasuke with a burning passion, he didn't really do anything wrong. 3. He wasn't Sakura's biggest fan right now. She had betrayed him and had attempted to kill him. With that attack came the demise of any romantic feelings he had towards the pink-haired genin. After another hour and a half of waiting and being checked by the nurses to see that he didn't die in his sleep, Kurenai, Hinata, Shino and Kiba came to the hospital to pick up their new teammate. Once Naruto was checked out, Kurenai decided to try and get Naruto a new shinobi outfit and check to make sure that he had all of the supplies that he would need for his training. The doctors had told Naruto to hold off on training at least until the next day, so Kurenai decided to try and get Naruto prepared and to simply use this time to get to know each other better. At first, he protested, saying that he already had what he needed, but Kurenai insisted, so reluctantly Naruto agreed to the little shopping trip. That was when she made a note of the neon orange jumpsuit that he usually wore and was rather intrigued. She figured that it might have been his favorite color, but this was a little excessive. He seemed a little uncomfortable when she suggested the idea of replacing it with a more appropriate wardrobe, but she convinced him that it would help him in the long run. Still, she thought, it would be nice to know how he could possibly think that his clothes would be anywhere near what a shinobi would wear in the field. Luckily for her, it was Kiba that decided to ask the question. You know, Naruto, I wanted to know this for a while. Why do you wear that idiotic outfit of yours? What's wrong with it? Naruto asked, as if what he was wearing was typical for someone trained to kill you in at least 100 different ways. Dude, your outfit is a neon orange jumpsuit. It screams, here I am. Now, roast my ass on an open fire and use me as a living target. Before Naruto could bark a retort back, Shino interjected. I must agree with Kiba-san, Naruto-san. Why, do you ask? Because there is no way you would be able to sneak around and practice stealth in a suit that is easier to spot out in a crowd than a blue butterfly in a field of moths. Any sort of retort died in Naruto's throat when he heard that. Thankfully, before he could answer, Team 8 had arrived at a local shinobi shop that sold attire and equipment for the village's shinobi forces. I'm not sure I should go in there, guys. I don't have any money on me, and well, this place is kinda expensive, Naruto trailed off. Inwardly, he didn't really want his team to witness firsthand the kind of treatment that he got from the rest of the village. It was one thing to hear about how he was ignored thanks to the Kyuubi, but it was something else entirely to see the hatred on the faces of everyone that he passed. The other four gave Naruto a funny look. Naruto, what are you talking about? This place has the best prices in town on stuff, Kiba asked. Well, when I was in the academy, I couldn't afford new stuff most of the time because I still had to eat, so I never came here because everything here was so darn expensive. That, and like I said, I can't really afford anything in here. Why? His new friends and sensei were rather appalled. Naruto had to choose between food, clothes and supplies. For that matter, where was he getting used anything? It was considered a safety hazard to recycle most ninja tools unless it was to gather them up after a training session or to melt the pieces down and reforge material. Used equipment had a habit of breaking and shattering, which could cause injury in the field if someone was not careful. Hinata was heartbroken at the idea that Naruto had to choose between eating and having the most basic of needs when he was growing up. She couldn't even begin to imagine what it would have been like if she were forced to live like that, not that she was spoiled, but she was better off than most. Kiba and Shino were still wrapping their minds around the idea of someone denying an academy-level student food and ninja weapons that would be considered trivial to most anyone. Kurenai was concerned and confused. Concerned that Naruto had been given substandard equipment when he should have been able to afford everything, and confused in that Naruto said he had to choose most of the time. She was aware of the orphan allowance that the Hokage gave him before the academy, and she knew for a fact that it should have been enough to be able to get all of what he needed. Could it be that the village was price gouging him due to the fox? There was one way to find out, so she decided to see just how much Naruto was paying for his needs. Naruto, how much do you usually pay on a typical set of kunai? Kurenai asked. Naruto thought about it. Well, if I can get it used, I can get a set for about 5,000 ryo. Otherwise, I have to spend 7,500 ryo on a new set, Naruto stated like he was stating his favorite flavor of ramen. After he said that, the others were giving him funny looks, like he grew a second head or something. He was slightly confused, and a tiny bit worried that he said something wrong. What? Did I say something? Naruto-kun, why you are aware that a typical set of kunai C costs only about 1,500 ryo, right? Hinata shyly asked, hoping not to embarrass Naruto further. She could tell right away that finances, or lack thereof, were not something that he felt comfortable with. Naruto sighed. He didn't exactly want pity for his life, but he realized that if he was going to be on a team with people that could easily find answers if they needed to, he wouldn't have much choice in their reactions. His life wasn't exactly one that most would call great, but it was his life and he learned to accept it as is long ago. That didn't mean he wouldn't do what he could to change that, but he would accept things as they are. Unfortunately, it didn't seem like they were going to let him get away with it. So, he let them drag him into the store to get his things. Upon entering the store, the clerk behind the counter chimed the familiar greeting of most shop owners. Hello, welcome to our shop, feel free to. The clerk stopped when she saw who she was talking to. She appeared to have a look on her face that seemed to radiate hatred like a fire radiates warmth. Team 8 was on edge, not quite knowing how the woman would react now that she saw Naruto. Is there a problem, miss? Kurenai asked innocently, but subtly was staying on guard. Her team may have known about the fox, but the third's law was still in effect and she would enforce it if need be. The store clerk simply put on a fake apologetic look and worded her next phrase carefully enough to not violate the law, but insulting enough to do what she needed. Oh, I'm sorry, Ninja-san, but we only serve humans in this shop. I will gladly serve you for, but she said while pointing at Naruto, will have to go elsewhere. She topped the whole act with a fake smile that was as obviously as fake as the health benefits of ramen. Naruto was about to suggest they try another store, but Kurani held her hand up to silence him. You are aware he is a shinobi of Konoha, correct? He is nothing but a monster and I have the right to refuse service to anyone I wish. Now, please leave. Hinata looked to Kiba and Shino and nodded. Well, if that's the CC case, I might as well tell my clan that we Hyuga are no longer welcome at this establishment. I suppose mom will be a little ticked, but we Inuzuka can manage, I guess. I suppose the Aburame might as well withdraw as well. Why, do you ask? Simple. You are obviously refusing service to the clan heirs of the Aburame and Hyuga clan, as well as the son of the Inuzuka matriarch. That clearly shows that you do not want any of our business. The store owner blanched. Sure, losing the business of one of those clans could have been bad, but ever since the Uchiha were exterminated, the Aburame, Hyuga, and Inuzuka had become the three most powerful clans in Konoha. To refuse service to them was both economic and political suicide. If word got out that they were refused service, it would jeopardize the shop. In an act clearly to save face, the clerk gave a hasty apology and allowed normal service to the demon brat. Naruto was still adamant that he couldn't pay for anything, but Kurenai stated that she would be buying everything, just this once. So Naruto, with Hinata, Kiba, and Shino in tow, went to the racks to gather some clothes for a new wardrobe while Kurenai picked out his ninja kit. In the end, Naruto got a couple of t-shirts in various designs and colors, including blue, black, and burnt orange much to his delight. He received several pairs of dark green, black and brown shinobi pants, and a dark blue coat with a thin hood and a mesh inner lining to act as a set of armor. In addition, he got a gray coat in a similar fashion to the blue one, a pair of black shinobi sandals, and a pair of black fingerless gloves with a metal plate on each hand with the insignia for Konoha on each plate. Overall, it was a drastic improvement to his old outfit. As the team was leaving the store to go for the evening, Naruto decided to stop and thank his team. Guys, thanks so much for all this. I promise, I will find a way to pay you all back. Stop right there, Naruto. Everyone turned to Kurenai in surprise. I already told you, I chose to pay for this. It is my way of helping you become a better shinobi. You deserve to be treated better than you are now, Naruto. If we can help it, we will find a way to start helping you more. Isn't that right, team? That is correct, Naruto-san, Shino said. We are ninja now. For you to continue to be treated like you were in the academy is unacceptable. We are more than your teammates, we are your friends. As your friends, we will do what we can to make sure that we won't have a repeat of what happened today happen. Being denied your most basic rights is unethical and unacceptable. Yeah, Dobi, Kiba added. Besides, if this means your ass doesn't get as spotted in the field or force your opponent to die of laughing too hard, I think we can stand to do some roughing up once in a while, right Akamaru? Kiba finished with a feral smile as his canine companion barked in agreement. Despite the insulting tone, Naruto knew Kiba long enough to know he was sincere, even if it sounded like a complete insult. Besides, Naruto-kun, why you shouldn't have to hold all of your burdens by yourself anymore, Hinata trailed off. Naruto smiled a genuine smile. Here were 4 people who not only acknowledged him, but were even willing to stick up for him. He had not had that before and he was enjoying every minute of it. He thanked all of his new friends and his sensei and decided to head home for the night. He was going to be able to train with his new team tomorrow, and he knew that this was going to be the start of something great, or at least better than it had been for him up until now. From her place in the sky, Chiyoko watched the blonde with a smile. You are certainly going in the right direction, Naruto. Now, we shall see if the bonds you will make will be able to help you on your path to your future. It had been 2 months since Naruto's incident with his former teammates, and so far Kurenai couldn't help but smile. It had been rough with Naruto in the beginning, mainly because there were a lot of things that he needed to be corrected on. His shadow clone jutsu was a practical godsend in that regard. Something like a taijutsu kata that would have taken months to refine was done so in a matter of days, thanks to being able to use the clones. After she had explained the benefits and drawbacks of using the technique to Naruto, he almost immediately began using it in his training routine. It amazed Kurenai just how many he could create. Whereas even someone of the Hokage's level could only do about 2 or 3 at a time if they didn't want to exhaust themselves, Naruto could practically create a full army without breaking a sweat. Granted, that somewhat made him a one-trick pony, but Kurenai wanted him to perfect the basics before she gave him something more advanced, even if she did think that he could probably burn though any high-level technique like it was a basic. The only technique she didn't have him work on was the use of the regular clone technique. While it had benefits for those who could manage it, the combination of the fact that he had a better cloning technique and the fact that his reserves prevented him from being able to perform the technique successfully without practically running him ragged. Kurenai also worked a little on Naruto's habits as well. Granted, he was still mostly hyperactive and tended to rush into things, but Kurenai had worked with Naruto early on to focus on his patience. She discovered early on that Naruto was the type to rush in and work things out later, a habit that would get him killed in the field. So, she had him working on stopping to think before he acted and to learn to listen as much as he talked. It was slow and agonizing at first, but she had gotten him to the point where he wouldn't continually blurt out every 5 minutes about how bored he was at learning theory or an explanation of a mission. She felt that she could be at least thankful for being able to do that much. Kurenai was also impressed with how far Naruto had gotten with working with his teammates. His initial acceptance into the group had done wonders for the blonde genin. He had been a fairly open person before, but his team was slowly but surely seeing the Naruto that was usually not seen by the rest of the world. Granted, the whole team could tell he still had his share of secrets. The one pertaining to the Kyuubi had taken a lot of guts already, but so did everyone else on the team. It was a slow process to have Naruto start opening up, but he was beginning to trust his team more with his burdens. His childhood was still a bit of a sore subject for him, but his team respected him enough to not press when they saw that he was uncomfortable. He also started to become a core member of the team. Thanks to him, Shino was more vocal, well, about as vocal as an Aburame could get. Kiba had an excellent sparring partner and rival, which was a huge benefit for Naruto since he needed someone to spar with that didn't mind scrapping occasionally. Even Hinata had begun to get her stuttering under control. She was still rather shy, but she was not nearly as bad as she had been in the academy. Overall, Kurenai could not be happier with their progress. Currently, she and her team were standing inside the Sandaime Hokage's office. It was about 10 o'clock in the morning and her team was waiting to see what missions they had to perform for the day. Over the past couple of months, Kurenai noticed that each team member seemed to be able to perform better on certain missions than others. Hinata seemed to be a natural at babysitting and gardening, but had a difficult time with taking care of large groups of people or animals. Shino also did well with gardening, but he usually scared little children. Kiba's relationships with dogs came in handy on most missions involving pets or dogs, but his short temper when it came to catching Tora or dealing with rowdy children made things difficult sometimes. Finally, Naruto seemed to excel at painting, no doubt due to his experience as a prankster taking care of plants and, to most everyone's surprise, babysitting. Kurenai chalked that last one up to dealing with Konohamaru most of the time and figured that his experience as an orphan gave him insights into just what a child would want most of the time. However, for one reason or another, he hated pet sitting with a passion and loathed it when it came to finding Tora. Of course, the fact that the wayward cat of the daimyo would assault his face like a scratching post most of the time didn't really help things. As Iruka read off the list of missions to take, Kurenai shot a look over to her students to see the looks of boredom across their faces. Shino's posture slouched slightly, but enough to signal his disinterest in events. Hinata donned her best impression of the typical Hyuga mask, which she only did when she was simply trying to get through a meeting. Kiba was paying attention to Akamaru and completely ignoring Iruka. Naruto simply stared at the Hokage with a bored expression, which didn't go unnoticed by the aging man. Hiruzen signaled for Iruka to stop before addressing Naruto. He knew that, when it came to voicing the devil's advocate of the group, Naruto was usually the one to speak. Naruto, you have been unusually quiet. Is something on your team's mind? Naruto sighed. Ordinarily, he would have simply blurted out his opinion, but his training under Kurenai had taught him that sometimes waiting and gathering your thoughts could help you win your argument, especially if you had the right support for your argument. Well, Gigi, I just think that we are all getting bored of doing the same D-rank missions over and over again. Naruto, Iruka interjected, we've been through this before. Newly minted genin are usually given D-rank missions for the first 5 or 6 months to give them some experience inside the safe environment of the village before entering the field. Anything higher would be overwhelming and would run the risk that you would not be able to handle the risks involved. The chance of injury or death is substantial for newly minted shinobi. But Iruka-sensei, wouldn't it be difficult to be able to tell how we would perform in the field if the only experience we have is in the village? How the hell does that work? Don't get me wrong, I enjoy getting my paycheck as much as everyone else does, but it's not like we're asking for an A-rank mission or anything. Naruto tried to say in order to make a point. Shino stepped forward to back Naruto up. Naruto-san does make an excellent point. What is that, you ask? The point being that we can never truly know just what we are capable of until we experience things for ourselves. Logically, at some point we would have to expand our horizons. Not to mention, we have already completed 22 D-ranked missions already as a team. Kiba, not wanting to be left out, threw in his 2 ryo. Yeah, besides, if we have to chase that damn cat one more time, I'm gonna end up bringing my mom a brown furred cat-shaped pelt home. Right, Akamaru. His companion yipped in response. Hinata, under the stare of everyone else, apparently everyone else thought that she would say something, spoke up. I believe we can handle a slightly higher mission. We can only truly know if we try, and if worse comes to worse, we will only be able to learn from it. We have come far as a team over the past 2 months or so, and our skills have improved, Hokage-sama, she stated as she trailed off. Uruka gave a curious glance to the Hokage, as if to look for some sort of support for keeping Team 8 in the village. Hiruzen, in turn, closed his eyes in deep thought. On the one hand, letting Naruto out of the village could be a problem, what with the possibilities of running into someone like Orochimaru or whatnot outside the village. Hiruzen knew that, if someone figured out that Naruto was the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Yoko, someone would come in and try to either take him to be used as a weapon, or possibly killed to eliminate the possibility of Konoha using him in the future. On the other hand, he could not prevent Naruto from leaving forever. As a shinobi under his command, Naruto would have to endure the hardships of the outside world. Plus, his team did raise a good point. In nearly all of the comments that he had heard concerning the team, every person that they were hired by gave rave reviews on how well they were able to perform as a team. Ultimately, though, he knew it was up to Kurenai to decide if they were ready or not. Kurenai-san, do you feel that your team is ready for a higher ranked mission? The professor asked the Jonin. Kurani looked to her team and saw the determined looks in their eyes. Honestly, Hokage-sama, I feel that they are not ready for a high-ranking mission. She paused, taking a look at their defeated posture before continuing. That being said, I believe they could at least handle a C-rank mission. It would do all 4 of them some good to actually get some hands-on experience in the field, rather than trying to create those scenarios inside the village. She was rather pleased with how her team seemed to send a silent, thank you, to her for supporting them. Well, if you are sure then Kurenai, let us see what we have, the god of shinobi responded. Hiruzen then proceeded to look through several scrolls on his desk before selecting one. Ah, this one should suffice. It is a C rank outside of Fire Country, and simple enough that you should be able to complete it in about a week or 2, depending on how fast you go. Hiruzen then proceeded to show Team 8 a map showing all of the elemental countries. He pointed to a peninsula that was wedged between Ta no Kuni and the land containing Takigakure no Sato, a smaller village allied with Konoha. This is the Gufuu Peninsula. Mostly, it is a temperate climate, mostly filled with evergreen trees and mountains in the middle. Don't worry, the mountains only reach about 7,000 feet or so. It rains a lot, but there isn't truly much to worry about. In addition to that, there are miles of coastline, ideal for ports and such. Rumors amongst some of the traders that have been in Konoha lately are that there is a small town that is slowly being built along the coast. We wish to send out a small team to deliver an offer of alliance to this village. Due to the access to the ocean, we believe that obtaining an alliance could not only improve our economy, but give us access to a valuable seaport. This is where the 5 of you will come in, Hiruzen explained as he gave a different scroll to Kurenai. I want the 5 of you to deliver this scroll, which contains your basic alliance papers, to this new village. I do not anticipate anything other than the usual riffraff that accompany these sorts of missions. Are there any questions? Shino was the first to respond. How long do you wish for negotiations to last, Hokage-sama? That is an excellent question, Shino-san. While you may not have to negotiate anything, as none of you are technically diplomats, I do not expect negotiations to last more than 2 or 3 days, 5 at the most. Are there any laws that we need to be aware of, Hokage-sama? I do not believe that the laws would be dissimilar to those in Konoha that I am aware of, but thank you for bringing it up, Hinata-san. Will we have to fight enemy ninjas? That is always a possibility, Kiba-san, but unless they are at your level, I would advise you attempt to avoid a confrontation. Remember, part of being a ninja is being able to know when to fight and when to retreat to fight another day. Naruto finally asked the question that everyone had apparently either forgotten or simply were uninterested in asking. What is the name of this village, Gigi? Ah, yes, I should probably tell you all which village to go to. Thank you for reminding me, Naruto. The name of the town is Jizengai. Apparently it was named for the rather charitable nature of the townspeople to help wayward travelers. Looking to see if there were any other questions, Hiruzen could see that each member seemed to understand things fairly well. It was by no means a difficult mission, but Hiruzen felt it would be nice to give the genin some hands-on experience in diplomacy. Now, if there is nothing else, I would like for the 5 of you to leave by this afternoon. I expect all of you to be on your best behavior. 5. Hi, Hokage-sama. Statements were heard as each member bowed and turned to leave. Oh, there is one last thing, Naruto. All 5 people stopped and turned around. Since you will be outside the village on a mission, I wanted to wish you a happy birthday while you were gone. A smile brightened the blonde youth's face before he stepped out the door. Once outside, Kurenai turned to her team. Alright, you 4, listen up. I want you all to go home and pack. Just because the Hokage said we might only be gone for a week or 2 doesn't mean that things won't happen. I want you all to pack extra clothing, seeing as how it might rain. We won't be needing stealth necessarily for this mission, but I would ask for you not to wear something that will stand out. Take your full gear, weapons, first aid kits, and anything else you might need. Also, since we will be going along the coast, bring your swimsuit. Who knows, it is still a bit warm yet and we could stop to swim somewhere. Get something to eat, for we won't be stopping until this evening. Meet me at the north gate at 1:15. Any questions? All 4 genin shook their heads. Good, in that case see you then. With that, she disappeared in a swirl of leaves to go get ready. At 1:15 in the afternoon, Team 8 assembled at the north gate and left for Jizengai. Naruto, for one, could not be happier. His team was aware of his birthday since he told them about the fox, but to hear someone wish him a happy birthday felt even greater. It had not been much of a secret that Naruto wasn't a big fan of his own birthday, but he still usually had a small ritual to celebrate, usually involving Iruka or the Hokage going to Ichiraku Ramen to have a celebratory bowl of a special birthday ramen. But, now he was going to be able to go out of town this year. Sure, he would be on a mission, but it would be better than being holed up in his apartment all day while everyone else went to mourn the dead. After all, for Naruto, being born on a day of mourning made celebrating his birth feel slightly awkward. For as happy as he was, though, Naruto couldn't help but be a little disheartened. There was truly only one thing he really wanted for his birthday: information. Ever since he found out from Chiyoko about how his mother was still alive, he had spent most of his free time trying to find out anything he could on his late mother. He knew it would be pointless to ask the Hokage. Every time he did, Hiruzen would simply tell him that he couldn't know until he was a more accomplished ninja. He tried looking through the archives at the library for an Uzumaki, but no one was registered under that name, or at least they were not publicly known. He attempted to ask some of the older adults about if they knew of another Uzumaki, but everyone he asked either couldn't recall anyone by that name or gave him a funny look. Naruto contemplated breaking into the private records, but he figured one visit to the private rooms of the Hokage and nearly getting caught was probably enough for him for one lifetime. Still, he supposed that he should be happy. At least this year, he wouldn't be alone for the most part on his birthday. He would have Hinata, Shino, Kiba, and Kurenai-sensei to at least spend time with. He was grateful for that at least. As the team began to travel north, using the trees as a quicker mode of transportation, he decided to strike up a conversation with his teammates. So, who else is excited to be getting out of the village for a while? Shino and Hinata simply nodded their heads, but Kiba decided to obnoxiously answer his question. Of course we are excited, Dobi. After all, it's not like we would have anything better to do back in the village, right? Sheesh. You don't have to make me sound like an idiot, Inutem. What did you just call me, dumbass? Can the both of you please calm down? There is no reason to be fighting right now. Oh, why don't you just stick a can of aerosol up your ass, bug boy? Kiba said, before Shino gave him a glare that made Kiba feel as if he was digging his own grave. Anyways, what about you, Naruto? It must be hard having to work on your birthday. Are you kidding? At least this way, I actually have some people to celebrate with, Naruto said. This made Kiba hang his head in shame. He forgot that Naruto was usually alone on his birthday, so to actually have someone to celebrate with was in and of itself a good thing. Seeing that Kiba didn't have much else to say, Naruto decided to try and talk with Kurenai. So, Sensei, are we going to get some training in on this mission? Kurenai chuckled a little. If there was one thing she could expect from Naruto, it was that he would want to find some way to train. Well, I suppose it couldn't hurt. Tell you what, as soon as we cross the border, we will try a new chakra control exercise, one that you will be vital to your success later on as shinobi. She smiled when she saw his face light up at the suggestion. True, it wasn't a jutsu, but there were worse things she could have them do. With that, the team continued to travel on without incident. 2 days later found Team 8 traveling towards the coast of the Gufu Peninsula heading north. They decided to stop near a small stream for the day. Alright, everyone, what I am going to teach you is a chakra control exercise that is similar to the tree walking exercise, but more difficult. For this, I am going to have to ask you to go and switch into your swimsuits, since I do not want you all to get your clothes wet. If it is not too much trouble, Sensei, may I sit this out? I actually learned this at home soon after I learned to tree walk. How, do you ask? My family includes the exercise in our training in order to better care for our hives. Our insects may be robust, but drenching our colonies would be detrimental to our health. Kurenai simply nodded her head in acceptance. She had a feeling that there would be some sort of legitimate excuse for not wanting to get wet. After disappearing behind some trees to change, the other 3 genin and their sensei came out of hiding. Kiba was sporting a black pair of swimming trunks with the leaf emblem in white stitched into patterns. Hinata came out in a one-piece bathing suit that was mostly lavender with a black and blue diagonal stripe across the stomach. Kurenai was wearing a black one-piece that had a stripe of red and white traveling in the opposite direction of Hinata's stripes on her swimsuit. Naruto, however, was nowhere to be found. They waited for a few minutes before Hinata called out to him. Naruto-kun, are you alright? Is there a problem? Nah, I'm fine. I just needed to find my trunks in all of my crap. Naruto walked out from behind the tree in a pair of blue trunks with orange stripes along the sides and the Konoha swirl on the front of the left leg. He took one look at Hinata and Kurenai in their bathing suits though and was very tempted to hide back behind the tree. The swimming suits they were wearing were modest, but that didn't stop them from showing off their figures. In the back of his mind, as Naruto was trying to convince himself that he wasn't a pervert, Naruto noted that Hinata was a little more developed than most of the other girls around his age. Not obscenely curvy like some of the women he saw when he modeled for his sexy technique, but flattering for her. Inner perversions aside, what caused a few raised eyebrows was the black muscle shirt that he had been wearing underneath his clothes earlier was still on. It was odd, since everyone else save for Shino had already changed and they knew that not getting their clothes wet was supposed to be one of the reasons that they went into their swimming gear to start with. Kurenai decided to get straight to the point and simply asked Naruto about his reasoning. You know, Naruto, it would probably be for the best to take your shirt off as well. I doubt any of us will think poorly of you, and we are trying to avoid getting our clothes wet. Naruto looked ready to protest, but sighed instead and looked towards the ground, not meeting the gaze of anyone. This got him a few curious stares from the team, until he began to take the shirt off. He had turned around and began to take the shirt off. Once it was off, he flung it back towards his pack, but not before everyone else could gasp at what they saw. Scratched into his back horizontally were the faded kana that made up the word, murderer, as well as an unusual scarring pattern on his left shoulder, which almost looked like he had a horrible infection on that part of his body at one point. Several more intakes of air were inhaled as Naruto turned around. When he did, two faint kanji, one for vile, and one for demon, appeared on his pectoral area. Naruto turned around to look at his team, almost ashamed of what he had to show them. Hinata looked to almost be in tears, Kiba was pale and looking almost ready to throw up, and Kurenai was attempting to show indifference, but finding it increasingly hard to do so. Shino, for his part, seemed to have a stray tear, but otherwise remained silent. Naruto, I'm sorry. I didn't know. It's okay, sensei. Not many do, Naruto commented, before attempting to draw some sort of humor out to make things less depressing. Besides, these are old and it's not like this was a regular thing for me. Unfortunately, that came out worse than Naruto thought and just made everyone else look worse. Sorry, crappy joke, Naruto, dude, please tell me that those aren't a regular thing for you. Kiba said in a voice that clearly showed how uncomfortable he was with the whole thing. What? No. Most of the time, I was ignored on my birthday. It's not like I had a mob of people chasing me down and trying to kill me on my birthday. Now, let's see, I got this one, he said as he pointed to his back. When I was 4, when one of the matrons at the orphanage decided to get a little tipsy and grabbed hold of a kitchen knife. This one, he continued as he pointed to his shoulder, I got from some idiot Anbu when I was 5. Hurt like hell, too. And these one, he finished as he pointed to his pectorals, I got when I was 6. Apparently, going to the memorial stone on one of Konoha's biggest days of mourning is an absolute no-no for the demon fox of Konoha. But, Naruto-kun, Hinata asked, doesn't your healing factor prevent you from scarring? Naruto seemed to look off to the side as he answered. Just because I heal fast, doesn't mean that I don't get scars. I just avoided injury most of the time. There is a difference between accelerated and complete healing, after all. Before anyone else could, Shino walked up to Naruto and bowed. This confused everyone, including Naruto, until he began to speak. I sincerely apologize, Naruto-san. I believe the Anbu that gave you that scar on your shoulder was a former member of my clan. My father told me about how that member used nano-sized insects and that he was found responsible for the attack. That member was later banished for attacking you. Had I known that you were the victim, I would have tried harder to be a friend of yours at the academy. For that, I apologize. Naruto simply shrugged it off. It's not like you attacked me, Shino. I don't blame you for the attack. I am not one to just go blaming everyone for what they did to me. It doesn't change anything, and as long as something good comes out of it, I am fine. What good would it do me to just get angry about it, other than to become some brooding prick like Sasuke? Besides, I can always lie and say that it's a cool battle scar. So, don't worry so much, okay? Kurenai smiled. Naruto seemed to be able to forgive a lot, and it spoke volumes of his character. Just seeing how well he was able to work through things made her feel more relieved. True, he could have just been lying to save face, but Kurenai could tell that he looked genuine when he said what he said. She knew that there was probably more to it than what he said, but she was proud that he was being at least somewhat mature about things. Soon, everyone was moving on and waiting for Kurenai to begin her lesson. The rest of the day was spent learning and otherwise enjoying each other's company.